Chapter 916 I am the ancestor of martial arts. Please subscribe. Centuries ago, Lin Yuan had already arranged for the Taiyin primordial spirit to propagate the martial Tao in secret. Of course, this propagation was done clandestinely, with the Taiyin primordial spirit merely facilitating when opportune. However, under the overwhelming dominance of the Immortal cultivation system, the propagation of the martial Tao evolutionary paths was actually unaffected. After all, with the ancestor of the Immortal path leading the way, sentient beings with the means would definitely prioritize the Immortal path. As for martial Tao, Lin Yuan hid in the shadows, and without enough high-level powerhouses to oversee the martial Tao cultivation system, despite its infinite potential, it was not the first choice. Merely relying on a few centuries of accumulation, the propagation of martial Tao is still too slow. Lin Yuan silently thought to himself. Being invincible oneself is not the same as spreading one's own cultivation system. Unless Lin Yuan could stay in the Immortal realm permanently, keeping an eye on its development, the growth trend of martial Tao might be suppressed at any time once he leaves. In the boundless void, martial Tao was able to spread so rapidly entirely because of the tens of thousands of years of accumulation in Tianqing world. The Immortal realm? The vastness of the Immortal realm far exceeds that of the boundless void. Before Lin Yuan's arrival to the Immortal realm, there wasn't even martial Tao. Wanting to develop martial Tao from scratch not only requires effort but also a considerable amount of time to settle. After all, not every cultivator is like Lin Yuan. Even if there are martial Tao talents who are exceptionally brilliant, it would still take generations before they could aspire to climb the peak of martial Tao. Actually, in the Immortal realm, there isn't a complete lack of a martial Tao foundation. A thought suddenly struck in Lin Yuan's mind as he looked in a certain direction. That place was one of the 3,330 lower worlds beneath the Immortal realm, which is where the spirit realm is located. Lin Yuan had finished his 8th traversal, essentially allowing martial Tao to take root and sprout in the spirit realm, leaving behind many contingencies to ensure the smooth development of martial Tao. The foundation of martial Tao in the spirit realm originated from the lower world of the central divine China world, where the Taoed Immortal sect struck a deal with Lin Yuan, protecting the weak period of martial Tao. Thereafter, cultivators of the martial Tao from the central divine China world continuously ascended to the spirit realm through the Taoed Immortal sect's ascension platform, joining the Taoed Immortal sect's ranks. Until Lin Yuan's 8th traversal, when he descended into the spirit realm, the cultivators of martial Tao had already established an influence called Martial Temple, calculating based on the flow of time between the spirit realm and the main universe. From the end of Lin Yuan's 8th traversal till now, 1,000,000 years should have passed in the spirit realm. Now in the spirit realm, martial Tao seems to be developing quite well. Lin Yuan's gaze pierced through layers of space-time, and he briefly surveyed the spirit realm. In fact, even without relying on the 7th realm of space-time to observe, Lin Yuan could feel the vigorous development of the martial Tao evolutionary path in the spirit realm. As the ancestor of martial arts, Lin Yuan could sense the flickering starlight of martial Tao cultivators, no matter how distant they might be. Sar the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Currently, in the spirit realm, over 50% of the areas are covered by this flickering starlight. That is to say, in the spirit realm, the martial Tao cultivation system has grown into a colossal entity, even capable of suppressing the Immortal cultivation system. It seems Li Qing and the others are doing well. Lin Yuan nodded slightly, even though he had forcefully cultivated his disciple, Li Qing, to the 8th layer of martial Tao before the end of his 8th traversal, but the 8th layer of martial Tao is merely equivalent to the Transcendence Tribulation stage, and there is no shortage of practitioners at this level in the spirit realm. Even though Lin Yuan's lingering power still exists over the long term, it still depends on Li Qing and the others to maintain control. If we can lead the martial Tao cultivators from the spirit realm up here, it could reduce the difficulty of spreading martial Tao in the Immortal realm, Lin Yuan thought to himself. Any endeavor is most difficult when it starts from nothing. With Lin Yuan's Taiyin primordial spirit covertly facilitating for centuries, the cultivators of the martial Tao cultivation system totaled only in the hundreds of thousands, with the strongest among them merely at the 6th stage martial Tao. And in the spirit realm, after 1,000,000 years of development, there are more than 1,000 cultivators at the 8th layer of martial Tao, with countless more at the 7th and 6th stages of martial Tao. With my current understanding of space and time, it shouldn't be a problem. Lin Yuan carefully observed for a while and nodded subtly. In actuality, there is a way to travel from the spirit realm to the Immortal realm. That is to ascend to the 9th layer of heaven in the spirit realm and then fly upwards from there. With some luck, one might enter the immortal realm. However, due to Lin Yuan's presence, the strongest life forms in the spirit realm became unprecedentedly powerful, and future generations, whether immortal or martial Tao cultivators, could only make it through the 8th layer and be absolutely crushed when facing the Lin Yuan presiding over the 9th layer. This meant that for 1,000,000 years, no being from the spirit realm has reached the immortal realm. Let's begin. Lin Yuan's heart stirred slightly, and he sent out a thread of spiritual will, breaking away from the immortal realm and continuously falling, eventually merging with the spirit realm. Ancestral masters could roam beyond the immortal realm, and both the spirit realms and the central divine continent's immortal cultivation systems originated from the ancestral master's teachings. Although Lin Yuan had not reached the level of an ancestral master, his insights into the 7th realm of spacetime allowed him to achieve a similar effect and even exceed the ancestral master in certain aspects. Spirit realm. 8th layer of heaven. Li Qing sat solemnly at the entrance to the 9th layer of heaven. Even 1,000,000 years later, I am still far inferior to my teacher from back then. Li Qing looked towards the entrance to the 9th layer of heaven. After 1,000,000 years, she had already reached the pinnacle of the 8th layer of martial Tao, perfecting many of the secret techniques left by Lin Yuan. Thus, Li Qing's power had become the strongest in the spirit realm, surpassing even the ancient transcendence tribulation beings from previous eras. But the greater her strength, the more Li Qing felt the gap between herself and her teacher. With her power levels, she was already capable of breaking through the 8th layer to the 9th. However, when facing the 9th layer, which bore the imprint of Lin Yuan, she was still completely overwhelmed. I wonder how teacher is doing now. How is life in the immortal realm? Li Qing couldn't help but feel nostalgic about Lin Yuan. She was a disciple that Lin Yuan took in when he was in the central divine China world, and her reverence for Lin Yuan was the deepest. Just as Li Qing's thoughts were spreading, fluctuations of spacetime spread like ripples, and a towering figure seemed to traverse boundless spacetime, arriving at the 8th layer of heaven. An instinctive awe surged in Li Qing's heart, and she stared blankly at the towering figure, her eyes involuntarily welling up with tears. Teacher. To actually still feel a rejection towards me. Lin Yuan's sliver of soul consciousness descended upon the spirit realm and faintly felt the fear of the entire world. But it was only fear. Even if it were just a sliver of soul consciousness, if Lin Yuan wished, he could easily destroy the entire spirit realm. He could, with his mastery over time-space alone, create a spacetime storm unprecedented in the spirit realm. This would lead the entire world to enter its collapse, stepping into the final stage of destruction. In comparison, the current spirit realm appeared far too fragile to Lin Yuan's present self. Perhaps sensing the level of Lin Yuan, the spirit realm's instinctive consciousness could only feel fear. What's wrong? You don't recognize me anymore? Lin Yuan's gaze shifted, looking towards the trembling Li Qing. He smiled lightly and said, Teacher, have you really come back? Li Qing suddenly came to her senses. Just now she nearly thought she was dreaming. Since ancient times, as the spirit realm has gone through epochs, aside from that ancestral master of immortal realm at the birth of the world, there has never been a strong being who reached the 9th layer of heaven and then returned to the spirit realm. After a moment, Li Qing finally forced herself to accept the reality that the towering figure before her was indeed her teacher. You've worked hard these years, Lin Yuan said to Li Qing with slight approval. The development of martial Tao in the spirit realm to this state today must have required Li Qing to put in massive effort. Teacher, this descent of yours, are you planning to? Li Qing steadied her spirit and couldn't help asking. Having seen Lin Yuan again, Li Qing was extremely excited, and she asked the question, eager to serve her teacher once again. Nothing much. I plan to bring all of you to the immortal realm, Lin Yuan said with a faint smile. This was also the purpose of his return to the spirit realm, to utilize the many cultivators of martial Tao in the spirit realm to spread and develop martial Tao in the immortal realm. To the immortal realm? Us. Li Qing was somewhat dumbfounded. Since ancient times, it had never been heard that one could be brought to the immortal realm. In Li Qing's understanding, to go to the immortal realm, one must ascend to the 9th layer of heaven, which has always been the case since the birth of the spirit realm. All the ancient beings at the transcendence tribulation stage did so as well. And now Lin Yuan was saying he would take her up there? And them? It sounded like it wasn't just one person. You go down and get ready. Within the spirit realm, all cultivators of 6th-stage martial Tao can enter the immortal realm, Lin Yuan said. The cultivation environment in the immortal realm far surpasses that of the spirit realm. Cultivators of martial Tao entering the immortal realm will have a higher ceiling. All 6-stage martial Tao? Li Qing was taken aback. The martial Tao in the spirit realm was flourishing. How many 6-stage cultivators were there? All of them could enter the immortal realm? In the depths of the demon abyss. The ancestor of the demon abyss ordered all demons to retreat back into the abyss and did not give up on monitoring the immortal realm. Due to the presence of Lin Yuan, the ancestor of the demon abyss had almost revived his entire consciousness. He was constantly observing the immortal realm, especially the slightest changes in the Xianxia immortal domain. A fluctuation in the space-time passage? That being has opened a space-time passage between the immortal realm and the lower realm? The ancestor of the demon abyss felt a slight movement in his heart. He could not lock onto Lin Yuan's specific coordinates, but he was extremely sensitive to fluctuations in space-time. Such a stable space-time passage. The ancestor of the demon abyss was astonished. With his ancestral master-level strength, he could project his presence to the lower realm, and could even forcibly bring lives from the lower realm to the immortal realm. But to open a stable space-time passage like Lin Yuan, completely spanning the lower realm and the immortal realm, one needed to counteract the immortal realm's repairing force. The requirement for understanding of space-time was unimaginably high. Which lower realm space-time passage is this exactly? The ancestor of the demon abyss observed carefully, beginning to investigate as the invisible demon abyss power began to converge subtly. Suddenly, at this moment, the ancestor of the demon abyss expression changed. Not far from him, the power of space-time coalesced, forming a young male figure. This young man effortlessly crossed the many barriers of the demon abyss, materializing an avatar here. Smiling at the ancestor of the demon abyss, he spoke, "Ancestor of the demon abyss? Who might you be?" The ancestor of the demon abyss expression was solemn, as if facing a great adversary, clearly aware that this young man's avatar was the being he had been observing. The young man said with a smile, "I am the ancestor of martial arts. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 917 Lin Yuan and the Ancestor of the Demon Abyss. Please subscribe. After Lin Yuan's comprehension of the spacetime domain entered the 7th realm, as long as he was within the range of spacetime he could sense, he could materialize an incarnation at any location. The 6th realm of spacetime allowed Lin Yuan's thoughts to travel instantaneously. Here, instantaneously still requires time, albeit exceedingly brief. But the 7th realm of spacetime allows Lin Yuan to descend synchronously. There is no doubt that this is much stronger than the 6th realm of spacetime, which requires crossing an actual distance. There may be obstructions along the way, such as certain perilous spacetime terrains that cannot be crossed by spacetime travel. In contrast, the 7th realm of spacetime is different. No matter how many perilous labyrinths separate the locations, as long as they are still within the range of spacetime Lin Yuan can sense, he can descend directly. The range of spacetime Lin Yuan can now sense is roughly equivalent to the size of dozens of immortal realms. The immortal realm is vast and boundless, equivalent to 1% of the main universe's territory. Dozens of immortal realms, that's already equivalent to a good part of the main universe. In other words, if he returns to the main universe, Lin Yuan can appear at any place within most of the territories of the main universe with just a thought. Even if using the 2 primordial spirits as reference points, sitting in key nodes of the main universe, he could appear instantaneously within all locations of the main universe. The only downside is that the one descending is merely an incarnation. But with Lin Yuan's current level of rule comprehension and strength of spirit and will, even if it's just an incarnation, the battle power exhibited can far surpass the emperor of demonic beings. And when necessary, the true self, the original being, can descend using the incarnation as coordinates. Just now, Lin Yuan was guiding the numerous martial Tao cultivators of the spirit realm through the spacetime passage, leading them to the immortal realm, when he perceived the master of the abyss scrutiny. Therefore, he simply came to meet face to face with the ancestor of the demon abyss. Actually, even without the ancestor of the demon abyss scrutiny, Lin Yuan also intended to meet this ruler of the demon abyss, an existence of the 12th layer. Ancestor of martial arts? The ancestor of the demon abyss looked solemn. He observed Lin Yuan carefully, realizing that the person before him seemed not to be in this space-time, but talking to him was merely an image, a projection. "I have never heard of you," the ancestor of the demon abyss said with a tone of confusion. Although he spent most of his time in slumber, given Lin Yuan's strength, he must have left traces in the distant past. But in reality, the ancestor of the demon abyss had never heard the name ancestor of martial arts. "It doesn't matter if you have not heard of it now, just remember it in the future," Lin Yuan said. Actually, for the past several centuries, under the promotion of the Taiyin primordial spirit, the martial Tao has also been spreading. But the noise was too faint, and most forces in the Xianxia immortal domain hadn't even heard of it. Let alone the exalted ancestor of the demon abyss. Hearing this, the ancestor of the demon abyss fell silent for a moment, then asked, "I wonder what the ancestor of martial arts is here for?" "Indeed, there are two matters," Lin Yuan nodded as he spoke. This was also the main purpose of his descent, to meet the ancestor of the demon abyss. SAR the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Please speak. The ancestor of the demon abyss looked at Lin Yuan. At his level, no one has ever dared to make demands of him. But the mastery of spacetime revealed by Lin Yuan placed great pressure on the ancestor of the demon abyss. "Since I am the ancestor of martial arts, I naturally follow the path of the martial Tao and have trained a few disciples who will walk in the immortal realm in the future." Lin Yuan sighed. "I hope the ancestor of the demon abyss would not strike at my weak disciples, nor take the initiative to suppress and destroy the martial Tao cultivation system. For the martial Tao cultivation system to last in the immortal realm, besides the need for foundational dissemination, even more critical is the attitude of a 12th layer existence like the ancestor of the demon abyss. If the ancestor of the demon abyss despises the martial Tao cultivation system, even if one day it spreads throughout the 33 domains of the immortal realm, it would still be condemned to destruction. Naturally, this is under the premise that Lin Yuan does not intervene. Martial Tao cultivation system. The ancestor of the demon abyss had a deep gaze, pondering for a long time before saying, "I will not make a move." With his status and strength, even if Lin Yuan didn't say so, he wouldn't deign to strike at the weak. In the past, all the battles between immortals and demons were caused by the creatures the ancestor of the demon abyss casually created. As for the ancestor of the demon abyss himself, he had never taken action. "The other matter," Lin Yuan smiled slightly and continued, "I have heard that the origin of the immortal realm contains the realm's most fundamental rules manifest, so I plan to visit the origin of the immortal realm." As soon as these words came out, the ancestor of the demon abyss narrowed his eyes. "I don't understand the meaning of the ancestor of martial arts. The origin of the immortal realm is not the demon abyss." The ancestor of the demon abyss message was clear. The origin of the immortal realm belongs to the ancestor of the immortal path. Lin Yuan should inquire with the ancestor of the immortal path. "Haha," Lin Yuan laughed and said, "all the immortals in the immortal realm as well as the demonic beings from the demon abyss, believe that the ancestor of the immortal path and the ancestor of the demon abyss are opposed, and the wars between immortals and demons stem from that. But shouldn't the ancestor of the immortal path and the ancestor of the demon abyss share the same consciousness? Asking you would be no different from asking the ancestor of the immortal path, right?" Lin Yuan looked at the ancestor of the demon abyss. It must be said that there are significant differences between the ancestor of the demon abyss and the ancestor of the immortal path. Even among the 12-layer ultimates in the main universe, not everyone could discern that the two are essentially one. Lin Yuan was also only able to determine this after his comprehension of spacetime reached the 7th realm, through the subtle hints within the spacetime domain, and the spacetime structure of the immortal realm and the demon abyss, that the so-called immortal realm has, from the beginning to end, only one ultimate existence. As for the ancestor of the immortal path and the ancestor of the demon abyss, they are simply two sides of the same coin. You actually saw through it. The face of the ancestor of the demon abyss showed no expression. Now that Lin Yuan had made it so clear, there was no need for him to continue the pretense. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 918 Lin Yuan and the Ancestor of the Demon Abyss. Please subscribe. _2-inch luck, Lin Yuan said with a smile. In fact, even if he hadn't entered the 7th realm of spacetime, Lin Yuan was already suspicious of the ancestor of the demon abyss and the ancestor of the immortal path, these two ultimate beings. Unlike the beings of the immortal realm, Lin Yuan came from the main universe where many supremes resided. He knew how incredibly difficult it was to give birth to a 12th layer life. Yet, in the immortal realm, there were two 12th layer ultimate existences? If it was just that, Lin Yuan wouldn't give it much thought, as the immortal realm was more than capable of accommodating two 12th layer supremes. But these two 12th layer beings treaded completely opposite paths. It wasn't just that they were completely opposite, but their followers, the immortals and the demons, had a sort of complementary meaning to each other. All demons eagerly devour the flesh and blood of immortals, yet immortals could also consume demonic chi. But due to the highly corrosive nature of demonic chi, when immortals consume demons, they could easily be demonized. However, the fact that immortals and demons can complement each other is already enough to trigger many associations in Lin Yuan's mind. Demons originate from the ancestor of the demon abyss, while the immortals walk the cultivation path handed down by the ancestor of the immortal path. The fact that demons and immortals can complement each other implies that the ancestor of the demon abyss and the ancestor of the immortal path have a complementary relationship too. Are 12th layer beings unique to their respective evolutionary paths? Complementary? There's only one possibility, that these two 12th layer beings have a profound connection, or they might even be the same person. If you want to enter the primordial lands, you have to agree to one of my conditions, said the ancestor of the demon abyss, looking at Lin Yuan. What condition? A smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face. If not absolutely necessary, Lin Yuan would rather not fall out with the ancestor of the demon abyss. After all, Lin Yuan's stay in this world was limited. Unless he could eliminate the ancestor of the demon abyss once and for all, he'd rather opt for a peaceful coexistence if possible. I can sense that you haven't entered the Dao ancestor realm, the ancestor of the demon abyss said. Not a Dao ancestor, yet possessing such insight into space and time, therefore I wish to spar with you. Spar? Lin Yuan nodded, no problem. The ancestor of the demon abyss probably wanted to spar with him to figure out exactly what form Lin Yuan existed in. Just by feeling and observing, the ancestor of the demon abyss couldn't pinpoint Lin Yuan's exact location, but to directly make a move would probably mean a complete fallout with Lin Yuan. So he wanted to use sparring as a form of probing. Lin Yuan was pretty eager for that as well. Up to now he hadn't had the chance to cross hands with a 12th layer ultimate being. In a super large-scale battlefield, Lin Yuan swept through his foes, but those he faced were 11th layer powerhouses armed with 12th layer weapons. As for 12th layer powerhouses themselves, he had only had a momentary contact with the myriad transformation queen of the insect race, but was immediately isolated by the Shenyuan Supreme. Where do you plan on sparring? Asked the ancestor of the demon abyss. Since this was the territory of the ancestor of the demon abyss, in the demon abyss his strength would be greatly enhanced, hence the question. If it's a sparring match, it means they aren't enemies and it should be as fair as possible. If it were an enemy, naturally the ancestor of the demon abyss would not give up any advantage, nor show any signs of concession. Right here, Lin Yuan said after glancing around. Are you sure? Asked the ancestor of the demon abyss. To spar in his own territory, does this ancestor of martial arts have such confidence? Sure, Lin Yuan said with a smile. The ancestor of the demon abyss might be a 12th layer ultimate, but he had no idea about the height of the 7th realm of time-space. It was also normal. While the immortal realm just barely kept up with the main universe, beyond the main universe was the chaos void, where many 12th layer sovereigns and even 12th layer chaos realm powerhouses existed. Their understanding of realms far surpassed that of the ancestor of the demon abyss. If it were a 12th layer path-splitting realm powerhouse from the chaos void, upon discovering that Lin Yuan's comprehension of time-space reached the 7th realm, they wouldn't entertain the notion of sparring at all. In the center of the demon abyss, in an immense open space, Lin Yuan and the ancestor of the demon abyss stood opposite each other from a distance. You make the first move. As long as you can land an attack on me, you win. Lin Yuan looked at the ancestor of the demon abyss with a smile. The ancestor of the demon abyss form shrank to around 10 meters, emanating a pitch-black and profound aura, constantly devouring the demonic chi from all directions like a black hole. Does the ancestor of martial arts truly believe that I can't touch him at all? The ancestor of the demon abyss gazed at Lin Yuan and thought to himself. Yes. He indeed could not pinpoint Lin Yuan's exact spatial coordinates. But being unable to lock onto the exact coordinates did not mean he couldn't attack. It was like a complex ant colony. People outside indeed couldn't lock onto the position of a single ant inside. They have no idea where that ant is within the ant nest. But to deal with this ant, one need not necessarily find out its location. One only needs to completely destroy the nest, and naturally the ant within will surely die. The ancestor of the demon abyss harbored such thoughts, and since he couldn't locate Lin Yuan, he might as well destroy all the space-time that he could sense. Be careful, Your Excellency. The ancestor of the demon abyss raised his hand, the demonic chi surged overwhelmingly, and instantly, a vast expanse of space-time collapsed. As an existence of the 12th layer, every single action of the ancestor of the demon abyss could affect the surrounding space-time, like a fish in water. Any flick of its tail could stir up ripples. Whoosh. The terrifying space-time vibrations dispersed in all directions in an instant. Lin Yuan, as the target of the vibrations, was also engulfed, covered entirely by the endless demonic qi. Lin Yuan stood still as all the demonic qi passed through him as if it went through a void, immediately surging towards the back. After the demonic qi swept over, Lin Yuan was still standing there. If not for the vibrating spacetime around him, it was as if nothing had happened. It didn't have any effect at all? The ancestor of the demon abyss felt pressured. The blow he had just struck was only a probe, but it was specifically targeted at the breadth of the spacetime dimensions. In the view of the ancestor of the demon abyss, even if he couldn't inconvenience Lin Yuan at the very least, it should have had some slight impact, such as lifting a corner of Lin Yuan's robes. But now it seems that blow he struck was probably immensely far from Lin Yuan's true position. That move wasn't too shabby, Lin Yuan nodded and commented. Directly facing an attack from a 12th layer ultimate being, even for Lin Yuan, was a rare experience. The 7th realm of spacetime kept Lin Yuan in an absolutely safe state, which allowed him to observe the ancestor of the demon abyss earlier move more carefully. Not too shabby? The ancestor of the demon abyss took a deep breath, and immediately the entire demon abyss began to contract. Then take a look at this move. Boom. In all directions. Up, down, left, and right. CTH Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Countless layers of spacetime seemed to solidify. Lin Yuan appeared as if he were an insect trapped in amber, followed by a series of fine cracks at the edge of spacetime. The cracks rapidly spread, expanded, and split, in an instant enveloping everything before them. The next moment, the surrounding spacetime shattered like broken glass, and vast swathes of dark spacetime rifts emerged, a scene from outside the immortal realm. With this strike, the ancestor of the demon abyss had torn through all the spatial layers of the immortal realm, creating a huge breach that connected to the world beyond the immortal realm. The ancestor of the demon abyss looked again towards Lin Yuan's previous location, only to find Lin Yuan still standing there, unaffected by the destructive aura of the shattered spacetime around him. This scene deeply startled the ancestor of the demon abyss. I have completely penetrated the spacetime of the immortal realm, yet still no impact on the ancestor of martial arts? The ancestor of the demon abyss confirmed one thing immediately: the spacetime where the ancestor of martial arts resides seems to have transcended the immortal realm, and even the destruction of the immortal realm cannot restrain him. This move of the ancestor of the demon abyss, while much stronger than the previous one, Lin Yuan promptly spoke up with praise. You're getting closer to me now. Would the ancestor of the demon abyss care to keep trying? In fact, this move of the ancestor of the demon abyss was still a long distance away from Lin Yuan's specific spatio-temporal location, but it's always good to encourage the ancestor of the demon abyss. There's no need. Indeed, I cannot touch the ancestor of martial arts. The ancestor of the demon abyss fell silent for a moment before immediately speaking out. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 919 Resurrection. Please subscribe. No more sparring? Lin Yuan asked. There's no need to continue sparring. The ancestor of the demon abyss replied. In fact, the ancestor of the demon abyss had stronger trump cards and killing moves that he had not yet used. Even the ancestor of the immortal path in the origin of the immortal realm had not yet made a move. But through these two probing attacks, the ancestor of the demon abyss had confirmed that he could not only fail to lock onto Lin Yuan's location in spacetime. Even the attacks he launched were unable to touch or affect Lin Yuan. Therefore, continuing to spar was meaningless. It was completely one-sided output from the ancestor of the demon abyss. Then may I enter the origin of the immortal realm to have a look? Lin Yuan continued to ask. Of course you may. The corners of the ancestor of the demon abyss mouth twitched slightly. Based on the outcome of his sparring with Lin Yuan, even if he disagreed, it would be of no use. Lin Yuan could enter the origin regardless of his permission. Lin Yuan's arrival to the demon abyss and his encounter with the ancestor of the demon abyss, who couldn't do anything to him, was all done without a sound. Similarly, he could enter the origin of the immortal realm just as quietly, and even before the ancestor of the immortal path, he would be helpless. Then thank you very much. Lin Yuan nodded. Although he could directly enter the origin of the immortal realm, it was always proper to greet the host. I will take my leave now. If there's anything, just contact me directly. After Lin Yuan spoke, his figure directly dissipated, for it was merely an avatar he had sent here. When the will of his mind dissipated, the avatar naturally vanished. Ancestor of martial arts. After Lin Yuan left, the ancestor of the demon abyss stood for a long time before he sighed and disappeared as well. The sparring between the ancestor of the demon abyss and Lin Yuan caused a profound impact in the demon abyss, leaving countless demonic beings and their emperors in fear and unrest. Since their creation, they had never felt the Father God exert such force, stirring up spatial temporal fluctuations that affected the entire demon abyss. Xianxia Immortal Domain. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged. 12th layer strength. Lin Yuan carefully sensed the 2 strikes unleashed by the ancestor of the demon abyss just now. Although in terms of spacetime Lin Yuan was superior to the ancestor of the demon abyss, making him innately invincible, it was still just invincibility. If he were to resist head-on, not to mention it was just an avatar, even his true form, the true form from the main universe, would not be able to withstand it. There's still a considerable gap between me and the direct combat power of the 12th layer. Lin Yuan evaluated himself and concluded. He was only able to survive before the ultimate fighters of the 12th layer, not meaning he could contend against the ultimate 12th layer. But compared to those 12th layer powerhouses in the main universe, could the ancestor of the demon abyss be considered somewhat weaker? Lin Yuan thought to himself. Even within the 12th layer there are differences in strength. It's not just about the 3 big stages: path-splitting, domination, and chaos. Even within the path-splitting realm alone, there is a large gap, and those at the peak of the path-splitting 12th layer can safely endure the tribulations of the universe's destruction. The ordinary path-splitting 12th layer beings, when facing the tribulations of the universe's destruction, would have to accept a great demise. It is understandable for the ancestor of the demon abyss to be weaker than the 12th layer powerhouses of the main universe. After all, those 12th layer powerhouses from the main universe occasionally spar with each other, competing, and might even receive higher teachings from outside the universe. But the ancestor of the demon abyss? Being 2 sides of the same coin with the ancestor of the immortal path, before Lin Yuan descended into the immortal realm, had already been invincible for countless years, losing the drive that comes with having enemies and naturally halting in strength advancement. However, even the weakest of the 12th layer is still ultimate, and Lin Yuan, who has realized the 7th realm of spacetime, could only survive before them. The spacetime passage is completely formed now. Lin Yuan's gaze shifted, looking at the spacetime passage in front of him. This was a passage forcibly established between the immortal realm and the spirit realm based on Lin Yuan's insight into the 7th realm of spacetime, condensing spacetime. Such a feat could only be achieved by Lin Yuan. Even the ancestor of the immortal path and the ancestor of the demon abyss could at most bring a few lives into the immortal realm. As for creating a stable spacetime passage? Almost impossible. Before long, faint figures began to appear within the spacetime passage before Lin Yuan. Is this the immortal realm? Li Qing stepped through the lengthy spacetime passage, and upon entering the immortal realm, she was immersed in the rich immortal qi and the extremely complete Tao rules. For a moment she was lost in astonishment. In her life Li Qing actually had a day where she entered the immortal realm? Ancestor of martial arts. Greetings to the ancestor of martial arts. Greetings to the ancestor of martial arts. Behind Li Qing, Shanyang, Nie Yun, and the rest of the 8th layer martial Tao practitioners steadied their spirits. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, who stood not far away with his hands behind his back, they immediately bowed down fervently. As the ancestor of martial arts returned to the spirit realm and opened a passage to the immortal realm, this news had already spread throughout the 3,000 Tao regions of the spirit realm, driving countless cultivators mad with excitement. Leaving aside the prospect of entering the legendary immortal realm, just the mere sight of the ancestor of martial arts, the progenitor originator of martial Tao, was enough to make all cultivators willing to die for the opportunity. Stand up. First, get accustomed to the environment of the immortal realm. Lin Yuan nodded slightly, initiating the 8th traverse. Martial Tao was waning in the spirit realm, supported only by Li Qing, Shanyang, and Ye Yun, the 3 7th-stage martial Tao practitioners. When Lin Yuan first met Shanyang, the latter had planned to take Lin Yuan to visit the 9 heavens. Yes. Venerated martial ancestor rank. Li Qing, Shanyang, Ye Yun, and other cultivators of the 8th layer of martial Tao nodded in extreme excitement. Lin Yuan looked toward the rear, and as Li Qing and the other 2 8th layer martial Tao practitioners completed their journey through the spacetime passage, more and more cultivators of martial Tao's 8th layer entered the immortal realm. Among them were Jun Haiqiu, Jun Nangong, and Jun Yunxuan from the Jun family. In the central divine China world, after Lin Yuan's transmigration, he took the identity of Wuji, a third-generation immortal of the morality immortal sect from the Jun family, and at that time the influence of the Jun family in the morality immortal sect was not insignificant. Spirit Realm. Lin Yuan's conjured avatar began to break free from the world's shackles and arrived outside of the world. Central Divine Continent. Lin Yuan looked down, the Ling family possessing 1,000,000 subordinate worlds, of which the Central Divine Continent world was one. The distance between the Spirit Realm and the Central Divine Continent was not far, and the refined Void Period powerhouses from the Central Divine Continent could ascend to the Spirit Realm through the Ascension platform. This incarnation of Lin Yuan continued to descend and finally merged with the Central Divine Continent. Back again? As Lin Yuan observed his surroundings, he immediately felt an extreme narrowness, as if the entire Central Divine Continent couldn't contain his colossal presence. To integrate as seamlessly as possible with the Central Divine Continent, Lin Yuan's wisp of mental will directly inhabited the body that once belonged to Wuxia, which he had specifically reserved. This world. Lin Yuan looked around, the minute details of the Central Divine Continent world falling into his view. The current Central Divine Continent world had become thoroughly dominated by martial Tao. Perhaps it was the influence of his 8th traversal to the Spirit Realm. The martial Tao cultivators had become the absolute mainstream in the Central Divine Continent world. The River of Time. Lin Yuan's gaze deepened as he looked towards the Central Divine Continent world's River of Time. Lin Yuan had descended to the Central Divine Continent world specifically with the intention of resurrecting people such as Jun Dongjin and Mu Lianer. Although people like Jun Dongjin had ascended to the Spirit Realm, they were born in the Central Divine Continent world and their life brands were also in the Central Divine Continent world, so to be resurrected, they had to return to the Central Divine Continent world. Resurrect. Lin Yuan's form became ethereal, he flowed upstream, starting to lock onto the essences of lives that had perished in the past. Resurrection techniques belonged to the capabilities of 12th-tier powerhouses, but fundamentally, it was just a mastery of space and time. SAR the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Grasping the entire rule of time at the 11th tier, one could also flow upstream and theoretically scoop up fleeting lives from the past, but one would be unable to withstand the backlash from the River of Time. Today, Lin Yuan's life essence was unprecedentedly strong. Resurrecting some 7th-tier beings was all too simple, not to mention the pittance of a backlash from the River of Time. Rustle, rustle. The River of Time rippled. One after another, gray life brands were scooped up and then brought to the current spacetime. I thought I was dead? Jun Dongjin, Mu Lianer, Jun Xiaoyao, Jun Jilan, and others blinked, finding it rather unbelievable, their memories all halting at the final moment of death. Now that they were resurrected, it was as if they had just awoken from sleep. I feel that my lifespan has become immeasurably extended. I could live for at least 1,000,000 or 10,000,000 years. Jun Dongjin took a deep breath. He remembered that he didn't have much lifespan left, so how come his lifespan has now surged by 100-fold? Me too. Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Jilan looked at each other. Is this Central Divine Continent? I remember I had already entered the Spirit Realm through the Ascension platform. Wuji. Mu Lianer suddenly called out excitedly. The family turned their heads and saw Lin Yuan quietly observing, his aura as constrained as possible, otherwise people like Jun Dongjin wouldn't even have the qualification to look at him directly. Don't panic, you have been resurrected by me, Lin Yuan explained with a smile. Next, I will take you to the Immortal Realm. Resurrecting Jun Dongjin and his family was an effortless matter for Lin Yuan. After all, it was no trouble for him, and it required no price to be paid. Besides Jun Dongjin's family, Lin Yuan resurrected many others such as the parents of his 8th traversal Spirit Realm fleshly form and so on. Given the strength of Lin Yuan's life essence, even resurrecting 11th tier lives was well within his capability, and reviving many more ordinary lives was just a matter of thought. After resurrection, Lin Yuan slightly infused each resurrected being with some origin source, greatly prolonging their lifespans. Otherwise, lives that died due to the limit of their lifespan, even if pieced back together, would still have to face the issue of lifespan limitation. We've been resurrected? The hearts of Jun Dongjin's family were shaken. They had been to the Spirit Realm and knew that even for a tribulation stage celestial king, death was final, and the notion of resurrection didn't exist. And yet, Wuji could effortlessly resurrect them? And it wasn't a mere resurrection, their life essence, the length of their lifespan, had all been significantly elevated? Immortal Realm? Jun Xiaoyao was momentarily stunned. Could they really proceed to the Immortal Realm? Resurrecting long-gone relatives and friends was a task for a negligibly minor incarnation split by Lin Yuan. As for his true body, it remained in closed-door cultivation, comprehending the Tao. Lin Yuan's consciousness immersed in the depths of his mind, gazing towards the towering and grandiose Myriad Realms gate. Now with the attainment of the seventh realm in spacetime comprehension, this was Lin Yuan's first examination of the Myriad Realms gate. What is this? Lin Yuan's expression shifted slightly. At this moment, with his spacetime insight reaching the seventh realm, he immediately noticed changes in the Myriad Realms gate. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 920 The Source World, Seeking Subscriptions. The Myriad Realms gate stands lofty and majestic at the deepest part of Lin Yuan's mind, as if it has remained unchanged through the ages, eternal and everlasting. Even though it is merely a projection of the true Myriad Realms gate, it still gives Lin Yuan the illusion of surpassing the 12th layer, even for the likes of Shen Huang and the Moyu Tower Master. In front of this projection they seem like mere dust. This is not a comparison of physical sizes, but rather from a deeper, more fundamental level. Lin Yuan previously guessed that the Myriad Realms gate is an object at the level of perfect time beings, based on this scene. Now, Lin Yuan's expression is solemn as he observes the Myriad Realms gate closely. After his understanding of spacetime entered the seventh realm, Lin Yuan's perception of spacetime has completely changed from before. Now, the Myriad Realms gate also feels different to Lin Yuan. In fact, it's not the Myriad Realms gate that has changed, it has always been there and never changed. It's just that Lin Yuan's realm has improved, allowing him to see more of the Myriad Realms gate's fundamental information, making him feel as if the gate itself has changed. New world coordinates have appeared? Lin Yuan thought to himself as dozens of world coordinates faintly emerged deep within the Myriad Realms gate. To be precise, there are 33 world coordinates. These 33 world coordinates, as if they had been engraved in the Myriad Realms gate long ago, are only now perceived by Lin Yuan. 33 worlds? Lin Yuan observed carefully and soon received information about these 33 worlds. Search * the Nell Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. These 33 worlds, are they all source worlds? 33 source worlds? Lin Yuan looks pensive. The information about these 33 source worlds is scant, likely because his realm is still insufficient to perceive more information. Source worlds? What level of worlds are those? Lin Yuan is quite curious. The world coordinates that are imprinted in the deepest parts of the Myriad Realms gate are obviously not simple. At least neither the main universe nor the Chaos Void has the capability to imprint their own coordinates there. However, this is good news for me. A smile appears on Lin Yuan's face. At his current level, just one step away from the 12th layer, his options for worlds to traverse and descend upon are very few. In the heavens and Myriad Realms, among the endless dimensional planes, countless worlds exist, but the absolute majority are lower and middle-level worlds. High-level worlds like the Immortal Realm and the main universe are extremely rare. If he traverses through the Myriad Realms gate and descends into a lower-level world, Lin Yuan would feel very uncomfortable. The restrictions of a lower-level world are significant, and Lin Yuan might not even be able to grow to the level of condensing physical body divine abilities. Moreover, since physical body divine abilities originate from bloodlines, the bloodlines of a lower-level world, even if they could condense physical body divine abilities, would probably not compare to top-tier ones such as Tier Heaven or World. This is also the reason why Lin Yuan has not undertaken a large number of blind random traversals. 100 or 1,000 random traversals might not benefit Lin Yuan as much as one high-quality traversal. Therefore, after the 11th traversal was completed, to embark on the next traversal, Lin Yuan had to opt for a customized traversal. But customized traversals consume too much world-breaking origin force, starting at 100 strands. Along with Lin Yuan's increasing demands in customization, the consumption of world-breaking origin force would skyrocket, and eventually, customizing a world that satisfies Lin Yuan might cost 1,000 or several thousand strands of world-breaking origin force. These 33 source worlds? At least in terms of level, they would not be lower than the main universe. Lin Yuan traversing and descending among them would certainly not face any suppression. The operation of rules differs between different world dimensions. Staying in one world dimension for a long time, one would only sense that dimension's operation of rules. The operation of rules in worlds of the same level but different dimensions is markedly different. Prolonged contemplation undeniably aids in cultivation. This is also why those close to perfect time beings explore other dimensional spaces. not only to discover the unknown but also to experience the operation of rules in different dimensional spaces. Maybe they'll impact their own cultivation path and subsequently achieve a breakthrough. If this journey to the immortal realm doesn't lead to an understanding of the chaos rule, I can try out these source world coordinates, Lin Yuan thinks to himself. Even now, Lin Yuan isn't certain if he can comprehend the chaos rule. Comprehending the chaos rule at the 11th layer is exceedingly difficult. If it weren't confirmed that the chaos rule is of great help in breaking through to the ultimate level, Lin Yuan wouldn't bother with such an unrewarding task. With Lin Yuan's against heaven's understanding, as long as he can step into the 12th layer, even just into the path-splitting realm, the difficulty of comprehending the chaos rule would be greatly reduced. 33 source worlds, Lin Yuan ponders, most of his attention on observing the 33 new source world coordinates deep within the myriad realms gate. Out of the 33 coordinates, Lin Yuan can only clearly see the first 3. The remaining 30? They are incredibly vague and he can only confirm they are world coordinates. Lin Yuan delegates a wisp of consciousness, through the formidable power of the myriad realms gate, to probe the source world corresponding to the first world coordinate. Humming noises. Lin Yuan's strand of consciousness, as if it has traveled through a long space-time passage, finally arrives at a supreme space. What comes into view is a continent that fills the heavens and the earth, a continent that is so vast. Beyond the continent, there are countless meteorite worlds suspended in space. In Lin Yuan's vision, even the smallest meteorite floating on the outskirts of the continent has a vastness that rivals the main universe. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 921 Origin World, please subscribe, _2-inch time flow ratio. Lin Yuan paused for just a moment, ascertaining the time flow ratio between this origin world and the main universe, and then the thread of spiritual will that had descended began to disintegrate and shatter. 300 to 1, Lin Yuan's expression was solemn. Simply put, 300 years in the main universe would pass, while only 1 year would elapse in that origin world. Based on Lin Yuan's multiple descents into other dimensional worlds, the higher the level of the world, the slower the time flow ratio. The time flow ratio of 300 to 1 between the main universe and that origin world signifies that the latter's world hierarchy is higher than the main universe. This was also the first time Lin Yuan discovered a world with a hierarchy even higher than the main universe. Even the immortal realm was merely on par with the main universe, and in reality still inferior to it. Let's see the next origin world. Lin Yuan looked towards the second origin world coordinate. Among the 33 origin world coordinates, Lin Yuan could only clearly make out the first 3. Just as Lin Yuan was about to use the myriad realms gate to descend with a thread of spiritual will into the world corresponding to this origin world coordinate, he received an instinctual warning from the myriad realms gate. This origin world is unique. Approaching recklessly will cause a certain degree of discomfort. CTH Novel F. Iyer. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Then forget it. Lin Yuan immediately gave up. His exploration of the second origin world was purely out of curiosity, with no thoughts of descending and traversing in the near future. After all, there was still the first origin world coordinate ahead. If Lin Yuan were indeed to traverse and descend, he would definitely prioritize the first origin world. Xianxia Immortal Domain. Jianghu Immortal City. Jade Immortals from 33 immortal domains quickly gathered. I heard that this celestial demonic war ended early because of Master Yunjinzi? An elderly top-tier Jade Immortal stopped outside the Immortal City, looked towards the other arriving Jade Immortals and whispered, "This Master Yunjinzi intervened, resolved 6 Emperor of demonic beings and countless demons, and the ancestor of the demon abyss not only did not pursue the matter but also ordered all demons to retreat to the demon abyss?" The surrounding multitude of Jade Immortals, although having heard such claims before and unsure of their truth, were still astounded. What kind of existence is the ancestor of the demon abyss? He is an ancestral master-level powerhouse who has confronted the ancestor of the immortal path for countless years, and throughout past celestial demonic wars, countless immortals have fallen at the hands of demons. Such a supremely fierce and unparalleled powerhouse, yet so amicable in front of Master Yunjinzi? I am on good terms with the Lord of Jianghu Immortal City. At this moment, another shorter Jade Immortal spoke up. Master Yunjinzi is not only an alchemy master but also established himself as the ancestor of martial arts, spreading the martial Tao cultivation system. Ancestor of martial arts? Martial Tao cultivation system? The gathered Jade Immortals looked at each other. They had never heard of such a cultivation system before, but since it produced a powerhouse like Master Yun Jinzi, it was evidently not to be underestimated. Ancestor of martial arts? Could it be that he plans to stand equal to the ancestor of the immortal path and the ancestor of the demon abyss? A Jade Immortal could not help but say. The strength of the ancestor of martial arts, even if not as great as the ancestor of the demon abyss or the ancestor of the immortal path, is probably not far behind. The other Jade Immortals silently thought. Since he dares to call himself the ancestor of martial arts, he must have already considered the ancestor of the immortal path and the ancestor of the demon abyss. To be able to cultivate to the Jade Immortal stage, none are fools, especially not Master Yun Jinzi. If he didn't have the confidence and strength, to claim to be the ancestor of martial arts would be suicidal. I wonder if we'll get to meet the ancestor of martial arts this time. The many Jade Immortals discussed amongst themselves. They traveled across various immortal domains to Jianghu Immortal City, with the purpose of meeting the ancestor of martial arts. The ultimate truths converge from different paths, be it martial Tao or immortal path. At the level of the ancestor of martial arts and the ancestor of the immortal path, a high vantage point dictates all, and a casual remark could enlighten them immensely. Even if the ancestor of martial arts did not provide guidance, just to see such an existence was extremely worthwhile. After all, most Jade Immortals wouldn't see the ancestor of the immortal path even once in millions or tens of millions of years. While the many Jade Immortals patiently waited outside the city, the Lord of Jianghu Immortal City flew out, looked towards the gathering of Jade Immortals and announced, "Fellow Taoists, the martial ancestor is willing to see you." Upon hearing this, all the visiting Jade Immortals were deeply shaken. Their haste to arrive was for the sole purpose of meeting the martial ancestor, wasn't it? Yet without the martial ancestor's permission, they dared not enter Jianghu Immortal City on their own and could only wait outside the city. Under the leadership of the Lord of Jianghu Immortal City, the first batch of Jade Immortals entered the Immortal City one after another, and came to the cave mansion area, where they saw a young man sitting cross-legged. Greetings to the martial ancestor. Greetings to the martial ancestor. Greetings to the martial ancestor. Even just by looking from afar, all the Jade Immortals trembled in their hearts, as they could not sense the specific aura of the martial ancestor. Before seeing the martial ancestor, many images had already surfaced in their minds, such as how formidable and terrifying the aura of the martial ancestor was, enough to collapse space and time and so on. But when they actually met the martial ancestor, they found themselves utterly unable to perceive his might. Lin Yuan opened his eyes, smiling as he looked at the many Jade Immortals. Next, I will explain to you what martial Tao is. Lin Yuan's willingness to meet these Jade Immortals was not out of sheer kindness, but rather to prepare for the spread of martial Tao. The propagation of martial Tao is crucial at the grassroots level, but it is equally important to spread it among the higher levels. The Jade Immortals gathered here were essentially the top-notch powerhouses of the immortal realm. Although they all practiced the immortal path cultivation system, they all had numerous disciples and descendants, and were leaders of their respective forces. If these Jade Immortals recognized the potential and power of martial Tao, even if they did not switch to cultivating martial Tao themselves, their descendants and disciples would surely consider it as an alternative when choosing their cultivation system. Thus, Lin Yuan's goal would be achieved. Of course, doing so was not without risks, as it might provoke the resentment of the top-tier powerhouses, but Lin Yuan had already reached an agreement with the ancestor of the demon abyss, so spreading martial Tao was nothing out of the ordinary. Explaining martial Tao? The martial ancestor is imparting his teachings. The thoughts of the many Jade Immortals drifted. Before the martial ancestor, there was only one being in the immortal realm who had imparted the path, and that was the ancestor of the immortal path. What is imparting the path? It is to express one's own path and make it known to all beings in heaven and earth. The numerous Jade Immortals' thoughts fluctuated, but soon they no longer had the energy to ponder these matters, as they quickly became engrossed in Lin Yuan's explanation of the essence of martial Tao. At the innermost depths of the immortal realm, the rules of the great Tao easily manifest here. Several figures have gathered here. They are all direct disciples of the ancestor of the immortal path, authorized to reside permanently in the primordial lands. Origin of the immortal realm, the safest place in the immortal realm, unaffected by any turmoil outside, even the rampages of the emperor of demonic beings cannot reach here. What audacity to dare claim himself as the ancestor of martial arts! Indeed, our master is the ancestor of the immortal path. Does he intend to place himself on the same level as our master by claiming to be the ancestor of martial arts? It's rumored that this Yunjinzi solved 6 emperors of demonic beings with a mere gesture, but after all, it's only a rumor. Even if it's true, does he really think he can compare with our master? The direct disciples of the ancestor of the immortal path quickly exchanged words, their tone brimming with resentment. The emergence of the ancestor of martial arts has had a profound impact on the 33 domains of the immortal realm. Some Jade Immortals feel that the ancestor of martial arts is not much weaker than the ancestor of the immortal path and have gone to meet him. Some are still observing. The rest, led by the lineage of the ancestor of the immortal path, regard the ancestor of martial arts as nothing but a mere jester. Although it's said that the ancestor of the demon abyss backed down because of the ancestor of martial arts and even withdrew countless demonic beings invading the immortal realm, this has never been confirmed. The direct disciples of the ancestor of the immortal path here simply don't believe it. Too presumptuous. I will summon that Yunjinzi now, and have him come here to apologize. The senior direct disciple of the ancestral master of the immortal path rose, about to proclaim this to the 33 domains of the immortal realm in the name of their master's lineage. Just then, a voice rang out. From today onward, no one is allowed to take any actions against the ancestor of martial arts. There appeared a figure in a Taoist robe, an emaciated old man with far-reaching eyes and an aura that influenced the surrounding rules, the ancestor of the immortal path himself. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 922 Entering the Origin of the Immortal Realm, please subscribe. Yes. The disciples present immediately bowed in response. To their revered master, ancestor of the immortal path, they showed absolute compliance, even considering asking the ancestor of martial Tao to come and apologize because they felt that their master's dignity had been compromised. Remember, after the ancestor of the immortal path finished speaking, his figure vanished. Master, has Master emerged from seclusion? It took a while before a few disciples lifted their heads and exchanged glances. Despite the unprecedented carnage of the recent war between immortals and demons, resulting in 3 immortal cities being overrun by demonic forces, the ancestor of the immortal path had not emerged from seclusion, nor had he intervened to deal with the demons. But now, the ancestor of the immortal path had actively emerged? What was the reason? Were they just about to suppress the ancestor of martial Tao? Could it be that the rumors outside are true? The thought surfaced in the hearts of the disciples. The ancestor of the immortal path manifested in person, warning them not to overstep against the ancestor of martial Tao, although he did not explain the reason. But all the top Jade Immortals present were incredibly perceptive, able to deduce many reasons from the command. And in all the reasons they surmised there was one common thread. That was the ancestor of the immortal path harbored immense wariness towards the ancestor of martial Tao. Otherwise, with the capabilities of the ancestor of the immortal path, how could he possibly appear just to issue a warning? Not to mention the fact that the ancestor of martial Tao did indeed overstep in some respects. And the wariness of the ancestor of the immortal path further underscored that the ancestor of martial Tao existed on the same level as the ancestor of the immortal path. Ancestor of martial Tao. The leading direct disciple took a deep breath, only now realizing what he had just done, demanding an existence on the same level as his master to come and apologize? Lucky that he was stopped by his master, otherwise if he actually proceeded, even if protected by his master, he probably would never be able to leave the primordial lands again. Jianghu Immortal City. Lin Yuan spent half a day expounding on the essence of martial Tao. Through explanation he also reinterpreted his understanding of martial Tao, especially as he had already opened up 90% of the 9th rank martial Tao chapter. Thank you, martial ancestor, for your guidance. The multitude of Jade Immortals below bowed respectfully. If before they came to Jianghu Immortal City, their awe of the martial ancestor originated from his invincible power, now the reverence all Jade Immortals felt was for martial ancestor himself. Even though their cultivation did not follow martial Tao, as all paths of great Tao lead to the same destination. Lin Yuan's understanding of cosmic rules meant that despite a different path, he could still substantially help the Jade Immortals present. You may all leave now. Lin Yuan waved his hand. All at once, the Jade Immortals felt a shift in space-time and in an instant, they found themselves outside Jianghu Immortal City. The martial Tao expounded by martial ancestor truly is a grand path that ascends to the heavens. Indeed, I feel it's in no way inferior to the immortal path. What a pity that our paths are already set. Otherwise, I really would like to give martial Tao a try. The various Jade Immortals were exhilarated, unsure if it was an illusion. They felt that listening to Lin Yuan's teachings this time had helped them more than listening to the ancestral master. In facing the teachings of the ancestral master, they often encountered incomprehensible aspects, but martial ancestors' teachings? Every sentence was expressed in the simplest and most understandable form. Martial ancestor, impressive. The second ancestral master of my immortal realm. Each of the Jade Immortals was very certain in their hearts. Before today, the immortal realm only had one ancestral master, and the demon abyss had one as well. But after today, martial ancestor will become the second ancestral master of the immortal realm, the third of the immortal realm and demon abyss. Jianghu Immortal City. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged. Xianxia the novelier. N.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Spending half a day lecturing to the many Jade Immortals was merely one of Lin Yuan's avatars. After a few more lectures, I reckon martial Tao can take root thoroughly in the immortal realm. Lin Yuan nodded slightly. His audience of learners were all Jade Immortals, and only by gaining the recognition of these powerful beings could martial Tao flourish rapidly in the immortal realm without interference from ancestral master-level forces. The 12th layer? Lin Yuan's gaze was profound as he dimly perceived the river of time of the immortal realm. At this moment he could leap out of the river of time whenever he wished, attempting the ultimate breakthrough. With the 7th realm of spacetime, combined with Lin Yuan's various foundational strengths such as the heart of time, he felt that the likelihood of his succeeding in the ultimate breakthrough was very high. But there is still the possibility of failure. Lin Yuan carefully considered. No matter how high the likelihood, it was still just a possibility. Attempting the ultimate breakthrough in the immortal realm as opposed to in the main universe bears no significant difference, and even due to me not being born in the immortal realm, some risks might emerge, Lin Yuan thought to himself. He did entertain the thought of trying in the immortal realm, but it lacked significance. No matter whether in the immortal realm or the main universe, failure in a breakthrough attempt still spelled death. Lin Yuan was unsure whether, in the event of a final failure, his spirit and will could survive by escaping into the myriad realms gate, but it's always good to prepare for the worst in everything. Chaos rule. Lin Yuan took a slow breath. As long as he grasped the chaos rule, coupled with his current foundation, not to say that stepping into the ultimate realm would be guaranteed, but at least the chances would be much higher than they are now. Furthermore, realizing the chaos rule at the life level of the 11th layer would bring great benefits to his own transformation, especially when breaking through in the main universe, and he would receive an infusion of the chaos void origin, which his mastery of the chaos rule would greatly enhance. Greetings, teacher. Greetings, martial ancestor. Li Qing, Shangyang, Nieyun, and others stood below with the utmost respect. After entering the immortal realm and adapting for a considerable period, they finally accepted this truth. I have already reshaped your flesh for you. The path of cultivation ahead will be somewhat easier, Lin Yuan said indifferently. With Lin Yuan's current realm and strength, reshaping flesh was trivially easy. One thought could mobilize the power of heaven and earth within the immortal realm to achieve it. Of course, reshaping flesh is just that, reshaping flesh. If one wishes to walk further on the martial Tao evolutionary path, to step into the 9th, 10th, or even 11th stage, it still depends on oneself. A strong physical body can only make for a higher starting point. As for how far one ultimately goes, these are actually not so important. Most of the 12th-tier ultimate beings in the main universe come from ordinary clans. Among those who achieve the 12th tier with a unique and unparalleled life form, there is only one. Most of the 12th-tier powerhouses in the Star Alliance are normal special life forms. Venerated martial ancestor rank. Li Qing and the others immediately responded. You may all leave now. Lin Yuan waved his hand, watching Li Qing and the others depart. Parents? Lin Yuan's gaze shifted, and the situation of Jun Dongjin and others appeared before his eyes. Compared to beings like Li Qing at the pinnacle of the 8th layer of martial Tao, Jun Dongjin only had the strength of the refining void period when he died. After entering the immortal realm, they would need much longer to adapt than Li Qing and the others. This is all I can do, Lin Yuan thought silently to himself. He went against the current, revived his relatives who had traversed twice, and reshaped their flesh, extending their lives by millions or tens of millions of years. Next, if they wanted to advance further, there was not much more Lin Yuan could help with. It's time to head to the primordial lands of the immortal realm. Lin Yuan's figure vanished and reappeared beneath the irregular fissure in the cave mansion area. After stepping into the 7th realm of time and space, Lin Yuan planned to venture into the origin of the immortal realm for experience, and he had informed the ancestor of the demon abyss about this. Let's go. This incarnation of Lin Yuan immediately entered the irregular fissure. The nature of the irregular fissure is a passage that leads to the primordial lands of the immortal realm. However, this passage is extremely dangerous, filled with numerous spatial-temporal storms, and even a top Jade Immortal would face life and death risks if they recklessly entered. But Lin Yuan is not a Jade Immortal. Even before he stepped into the seventh realm of space and time, Lin Yuan already possessed the strength to enter the primordial lands through the irregular fissure. It was only because of his wariness towards the ancestor of the immortal path that he did not do so. Now, with insights obtained in the seventh realm of space and time, there's naturally no problem. Boom boom boom, the irregular fissure's channel is endless at first glance, filled with a labyrinth of terrifying spatial-temporal storms. Lin Yuan strolled leisurely, all the raging forces of space-time becoming incredibly calm when they came within 100 yards of him. Lin Yuan walked within the irregular fissure, this passage to the primordial lands of the immortal realm, which was initially extremely narrow but became more spacious the deeper he went. Fluctuations of rules. Lin Yuan hadn't yet entered the primordial lands but already felt waves of massive rule fluctuations rushing towards him, with various rules manifesting before his eyes and their operational details flooding into his mind. How marvelous! Lin Yuan observed attentively, feeling as if countless inspirations were exploding within him. All of these flashes of insight mainly came from pillar-level fusion rules and the like. As for the spatiotemporal fusion rule, there was very little in comparison. Now, Lin Yuan's insights into the spatiotemporal fusion rule have already reached their limit. This limit refers not to Lin Yuan's own, but to that of the immortal realm. To go further than this is not something that can be comprehended while residing in the immortal realm. Golden rules? 5 elements rules? Cycle of the 5 elements rule? Infinite rules, space rules, infinite space rules? Pinnacle of chaos rule? Material illusion rule? A multitude of pillar-level rules continuously poured into Lin Yuan's heart, many of which Lin Yuan had never previously encountered. Now they surged forth like rivers entering the sea. Your comprehension is heaven-defying, experiencing the manifestation of myriad essential rule fluctuations, greatly enhancing your insight into the cycle of the 5 elements rule. Your comprehension is heaven-defying, experiencing the manifestation of myriad essential rule fluctuations, greatly enhancing your insight into the infinite space rules. Your comprehension is heaven-defying, experiencing the manifestation of myriad essential rule fluctuations, greatly enhancing your insight into the pinnacle of chaos rule. Endless brilliance erupted rapidly, with numerous rules interweaving and clashing faintly across Lin Yuan's form, rapidly calming down the surrounding volatile spacetime. Primordial lands of the immortal realm. The ancestor of the immortal path was waiting for Lin Yuan to arrive. He and the ancestor of the demon abyss were originally one and the same. The ancestor of the demon abyss agreeing to Lin Yuan was equivalent to the ancestor of the immortal path agreeing as well. In fact, even if the ancestor of the immortal path did not agree, it wouldn't make any difference. The ancestor of the demon abyss exhausted all efforts and could not touch even a hair on Lin Yuan, and the ancestor of the immortal path was likely the same. Has martial ancestor entered? The ancestor of the immortal path, who personally opened up each irregular fissure leading to the primordial lands, was well versed with every one of them and immediately sensed one of Lin Yuan's incarnations entering the fissure. Why has he stopped? The ancestor of the immortal path patiently waited for a while but noticed that Lin Yuan had yet to enter the primordial lands. What's this? The ancestor of the immortal path frowned, peering at Lin Yuan who had stopped in place. His form was manifesting numerous clashing rules, as if nurturing some sort of origin rule. An epiphany? Without even entering the primordial lands, he has had an epiphany? The ancestor of the immortal path fell into silence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 923 Immortal Realm Consciousness. Please subscribe. The origin of the immortal realm is located in the deepest part of the immortal realm, where the rules and pathways are as if substantiated. Perceiving rules here is much easier than outside. It's much like an open book exam. Since Lin Yuan visited the ancestor of the demon abyss, the ancestor of the immortal path has been waiting for Lin Yuan to come over. For the ancestor of the immortal path, since he couldn't pose any threat to Lin Yuan, he surely intended to make friends. Having one more ally is much better than having one more enemy. Therefore, the ancestor of the immortal path planned to thoroughly introduce the many wonders of the primordial lands after Lin Yuan's arrival. This was also the purpose of the ancestor of the Immortal Path's wait for Lin Yuan. What the ancestor of the Immortal Path did not expect was, Lin Yuan, before even entering the origin of the Immortal Realm, had already fallen into a state of sudden enlightenment. It is known, the higher the realm, the more difficult it is to achieve sudden enlightenment. When the ancestor of the Immortal Path stepped into the 12th layer, he entered the origin of the Immortal Realm and practiced arduously for 100 billion years, ultimately with the help of the environment of the primordial lands. He barely welcomed a moment of sudden enlightenment. The talent and ability of the ancestor of the Immortal Path were undoubtedly the strongest since the birth of the Immortal Realm, from nothing to creating the Immortal Cultivation system, and finally stepping into the 12th layer. In some ways, it was the Immortal Realm that limited the ancestor of the Immortal Path. If he had been in the main universe, the limit of the ancestor of the Immortal Path might have been even higher. Could it be that the environment outside the primordial lands is more conducive to sudden enlightenment? A ludicrous thought flashed through the mind of the ancestor of the Immortal Path. But it was immediately dismissed. The cultivation environment outside the primordial lands definitely couldn't compare to the inside. That Lin Yuan could fall into sudden enlightenment before even entering the primordial lands only indicated that this ancestor of martial arts had amassed too profound a foundation, far surpassing his own centuries-long ardent practice in the primordial lands. Thus, even a slight stimulus from the primordial lands induced a state of sudden enlightenment. Just right. The ancestor of the Immortal Path nodded slightly. His figure appeared outside the primordial lands, looking distantly at Lin Yuan, planning to protect him for a while during his period of enlightenment. The ancestor of the Immortal Path did not take advantage of Lin Yuan's enlightenment to do anything. First, enlightenment is not a slumber. If faced with danger, one would instinctively leave the state of enlightenment. Second, what the ancestor of the Immortal Path saw of Lin Yuan was merely an incarnation. And even if it was an incarnation in a state of enlightenment, the ancestor of the Immortal Path was currently unable to pinpoint Lin Yuan's exact coordinates. Time passes. Sir, the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In the blink of an eye, more than half a year has passed. So that's it. Lin Yuan suddenly opened his eyes, his expression lively. This period of sudden enlightenment greatly benefited Lin Yuan, allowing him to perceive hundreds of pillar-level fusion rules and elevate them to the 7th realm. While the understanding of these pillar-level fusion rules of the 7th realm enhanced Lin Yuan's power, it was not a transformative leap. However, through these pillar-level fusion rules of the 7th realm, Lin Yuan had perceived the direction of the chaos rule. This was crucial for Lin Yuan. Regardless of the evolutionary path, perceiving the direction of rules is important. With the right direction, persistence leads to success. But with the wrong direction or not knowing the direction at all, it becomes difficult. Chaos rule. Lin Yuan took a deep breath as within his internal world, the power of numerous integrated rules intertwined and coiled, returning to the source, subtly forming the shape of an egg. Continuing to perceive more fusion rules, there is hope to nurture true chaos rules. Lin Yuan thought to himself, realizing only at this moment the significance of the few explanations about chaos rules left behind by Xian Huang and Moyu Tower Master. When the foundation is there, the chaos rule will naturally be mastered. Because chaos rule is not comprehended. It is nurtured. And the conditions for nurturing are the perception of thousands of rules. Ancestor of the Immortal Path. Lin Yuan's gaze shifted towards the distant figure in the Taoist robe, the gaunt old man. During the period of sudden enlightenment, Lin Yuan was aware of the ancestor of the Immortal Path's presence. If the ancestor of the Immortal Path dared to make any threatening moves during Lin Yuan's period of enlightenment, Lin Yuan's worst plan was to simply dissipate this incarnation. Dispersing the incarnation does not mean the interruption of sudden enlightenment. Fortunately, the ancestor of the Immortal Path made no moves and even refrained from coming close to ensure Lin Yuan's peace of mind. Ancestor of martial arts. Seeing Lin Yuan's enlightenment come to an end, the ancestor of the Immortal Path immediately stepped forward and appeared not far away. I originally thought that you would practice for a long time in the origin of the Immortal Realm before you would experience a moment of sudden enlightenment, but it came even before you entered. The ancestor of the Immortal Path felt quite emotional. Lucky indeed. Lin Yuan said with a smile. Luck? The eyebrows of the ancestor of the Immortal Path raised. At their level, the so-called sudden enlightenment does not involve luck. Regular accumulation is quantitative change, and sudden enlightenment is qualitative change, but without the previous quantitative change, there can be no qualitative sudden enlightenment. With the foundation of the ancestor of martial arts, When do you plan to try for the ancestral realm? The ancestor of the immortal path looked at Lin Yuan, probing. He could see that Lin Yuan was still at the Jade Immortal level, even though Lin Yuan's essence of life was incredibly strong, yet he remained a Jade Immortal. Although the ancestor of the immortal path had never seen such a strong Jade Immortal, since it was a Jade Immortal, one must consider advancing to the ancestral realm. The ancestral realm, also known as the Dao Ancestor Realm, is referred to as Ancestral Immortal Realm. I plan to accumulate a bit more. Lin Yuan spoke. Even if he intends to make a final leap, he will definitely choose to do so in the main universe, for it will once more bear a Chaos Void origin infusion. And the Immortal Realm simply does not have this. As a 12th layer ultimate, the ancestor of the Immortal Path's realm strength is much weaker than that of a 12th layer ultimate from the main universe, not only because there are no peers at the same level but also because stepping into the 12th layer did not involve a Chaos Void origin infusion. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 924 Immortal Realm Consciousness. Please subscribe. Two different worlds have different rules, let alone the main universe and the immortal realm which do not exist in the same dimension. The ancestor of the immortal path never accepted the Chaos Void origin infusion, resulting in his spending hundreds of billions of years to stabilize in the path-splitting realm after stepping into the 12th layer. SAR the novel F.I.R. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Indeed, the assault on the ancestral realm is perilously dangerous. I nearly perished myself back in the day, the ancestor of the immortal path slightly nodded. No matter which world or dimension one is in, breaking through to the 12th layer requires liberation from the shackles of the river of time. This necessitates confronting the time river and naturally enduring the backlash from it. But with your foundation as the ancestor of martial arts, there shouldn't be any problems, right? The ancestor of the immortal path shook his head and said. Although the ancestor of the immortal path faced backlash from the river of time like a lone boat in a vast ocean when he attempted to break through to the ancestral realm, the ancestor of the immortal path was also aware that such circumstances test one's mastery over spacetime. The greater the mastery over spacetime, the longer one can prolong the breakthrough attempt, affording more time and opportunities to make that step. And in terms of mastery over spacetime, even the ancestor of the immortal path himself did not compare to Lin Yuan. This is why the ancestor of the immortal path believed Lin Yuan would have no problems taking that step. Come, let me introduce you to the origin source land, said the ancestor of the immortal path. The ancestor of the immortal path led Lin Yuan into the origin of the immortal realm. This was a boundless space with vast amounts of the purest origin power rippling and gathering into stones, what the outside world called Xianyuan stones, priceless and unmarketable. Lin Yuan now realized the difference between the environment recreated by the Xianyuan stones and the true environment of the origin of the immortal realm. Over the past few hundred years, Lin Yuan had obtained a great deal of Xianyuan stones through trade, but just now, merely approaching the origin of the immortal realm, the impact of the various rule fluctuations on him far surpassed that of the environment replicated by the Xianyuan stones. It's magnificent, he said. Gazing upon the primordial lands everywhere, Lin Yuan saw various rules manifesting in reality. These rules were not only manifesting, but also interweaving constantly, which was tremendously helpful to any powerhouse perceiving the rules. Rules are not static, they are alive. Perceiving just one rule is certainly not as good as perceiving multiple rules at the same time. The collision between different rules during their perception leads to a greater improvement than what a single rule can provide. For a time, Lin Yuan's mind once again fell into abundant insights. However, having previously adapted to the epiphanies outside the origin source land, he did not immediately enter into an enlightened state. The origin source land is vast and expansive, and over there is where I reside with my disciple, said the ancestor of the immortal path as he slightly raised his hand, pointing in one direction. Following the direction of his hand, Lin Yuan saw a continent quietly suspended there, which was clearly constructed by the ancestor of the immortal path. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a conspicuous creation within the origin source land. You, as the ancestor of martial arts, can freely choose a place within the origin source land to practice and gain insights, or you can create a continent like I did, bringing your disciples along to perceive together, said the ancestor of the immortal path with a slight smile. Understood, Lin Yuan nodded. Also, within the origin source land you can go to most places, but there is one location you must be cautious about, as it is where the consciousness of the immortal realm resides, said the ancestor of the immortal path while looking at Lin Yuan and waving his hand, manifesting a vast map, which was a map of the origin source land. Nearly 99% of the areas on the map were empty, with only the central spot marked in red. The consciousness of the immortal realm? Lin Yuan thoughtfully murmured. Lin Yuan was already aware that worlds have consciousness. Even the vastly larger main universe has its own consciousness. However, the consciousness of a world is unlike that of a human. It possesses only instincts devoid of specific emotions. Normally, the consciousness of the world does not manifest and merely maintains the operation of the world in silence. But if something occurs that damages the world, its consciousness will intervene. For instance, in the main universe, if those ultimate beings of the 12th layer dare to leave the main universe, they will face the rebuke of the entire cosmos. The source of this rebuke, naturally, is the consciousness of the main universe. The 12th layer ultimates have absorbed massive amounts of energy from the main universe. Leaving would be akin to severing a large chunk of flesh from it, which is utterly intolerable for the main universe. Therefore, the moment for the 12th layer ultimates to leave the main universe comes only when the universe collapses into destruction, and its consciousness also falls into slumber. The consciousness of the immortal realm is very wary of us. If we get too close, it is very likely to attract the suppression of the entire power of the immortal realm. The ancestor of the immortal path said with a sense of helplessness. As a being of the 12th layer, the ancestor of the immortal path was already equivalent to the immortal realm. However, being equivalent does not mean being able to contend. Faced with the power of the entire immortal realm, the ancestor of the immortal path still found it difficult to oppose. Of course, it's not realistic for the consciousness of the immortal realm to suppress a 12th layer consciousness for a long time. It would require a vast amount of energy, and it might even lead to the premature end of the immortal epic's collapse. Therefore, the ancestor of the immortal path and the consciousness of the immortal realm have implicitly reached a balance. I want provoke you and you want provoke me. I understand. Lin Yuan nodded. Compared to the ancestor of the immortal path, Lin Yuan had a deeper understanding of world consciousness. Then I will go back first. Should you have any more questions, my friend, you can contact me at any time. After the ancestor of the immortal path finished speaking, his form disappeared, and Lin Yuan clearly felt that the aura of the ancestor of the immortal path appeared on that continent that was created. I should also begin my enlightenment. Lin Yuan no longer paid attention to the ancestor of the immortal path and immediately dedicated all his focus to the primordial lands where the essence of Tao rules were manifesting everywhere. Your natural aptitude is incredible. Watching the manifestation of many rule essences, your understanding of myriad rules has improved. In the blink of an eye, 200 years passed. Lin Yuan leisurely floated around in various parts of the primordial lands. In 200 years, Lin Yuan had comprehended tens of thousands of pillar-level fusion rules. The faintly forming egg within his inner world became increasingly distinct, emanating various rule auras and imbuing Lin Yuan's inner world with the flavor of the primordial lands. I can feel it, where the consciousness of the immortal realm resides, the fluctuations of rules there are more pronounced. No, that's not just fluctuations anymore, that is the rules themselves. Lin Yuan opened his eyes and looked towards the central location of the primordial lands. Actually, arriving at this conclusion was not difficult. Why did the ancestor of the immortal path know that approaching the consciousness of the immortal realm would risk suppression? It's because the ancestor of the immortal path too had discovered that where the consciousness of the immortal realm lay dormant was the source of all rules in the immortal realm. The so-called rule manifestation fluctuations in the primordial lands all originate from there. If one could enter that place to comprehend the rules, it would be far more beneficial than staying in the rest of the primordial lands. Although I have found the direction to comprehend the chaos rule, to actually nurture the chaos rule, there is still a long way to go. If I could face the essence of all rules of the immortal realm directly. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and decided to attempt to approach the location where the consciousness of the immortal realm resided. Since the ancestor of the immortal path had previously approached and even touched it and was still okay, there's no reason to think there would be any problems for Lin Yuan. In terms of life-saving abilities, Lin Yuan was even above the ancestor of the immortal path. And now, the one at the primordial lands was just a manifestation of Lin Yuan. Even if he was really suppressed by the consciousness of the immortal realm, it wouldn't matter much. At worst, he would send another manifestation in. Before long, Lin Yuan approached the vicinity of the consciousness of the immortal realm. Just being in the vicinity, a terrifying consciousness pressure emanated, causing the entire primordial lands to tremble. Such a huge reaction? Lin Yuan was slightly surprised, but he quickly understood. The location of the immortal realm consciousness in the primordial lands is equivalent to Lin Yuan's spirit world. It is the most fundamental existence. When an external force approaches, especially a powerful external force, it will definitely trigger the highest alert from the consciousness of the immortal realm. Boom. Ignoring the warnings from the consciousness of the immortal realm, Lin Yuan continued to approach. Soon, the consciousness of the immortal realm mobilized the entire power of the primordial lands, rolling towards Lin Yuan to crush him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 925 For thousands of years, please subscribe. Is the immortal realm consciousness enraged? Sir, the novel fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The tremors in the primordial lands were sensed by the ancestor of the immortal path immediately. Is it the ancestor of martial arts drawing near to the immortal realm consciousness? The ancestor of the immortal path looked toward the very center of the primordial lands and felt no surprise. Although he had long warned Lin Yuan that the consciousness of the immortal realm is terrifying and could easily mobilize the power of the entire immortal realm, the place where the immortal realm consciousness resides contains all the rules of the immortal realm, a temptation far too great, which is why he had once approached the immortal realm consciousness himself. And as a result he had suffered quite a setback. Now that Lin Yuan is approaching the consciousness of the immortal realm, he must have discovered this as well. Let's see how long the ancestor of martial arts can withstand the immortal realm consciousness. The ancestor of the immortal path wondered with slight curiosity. Even if one is an ancestral immortal, they cannot directly confront the entire immortal realm. It's all about how long they can resist. The ancestor of the immortal path was ready to assist, once he saw that Lin Yuan might not be able to withstand it any longer. Having experienced a confrontation with the immortal realm consciousness, the ancestor of the immortal path was confident he could retreat with Lin Yuan unharmed, thereby gaining a favor from the ancestor of martial arts. Right now, the immortal realm consciousness is merely mobilizing the power of the primordial lands, which is still normal, but once it mobilizes the power of the entire immortal realm, that will be truly fearsome. The ancestor of the immortal path focused closely, rapidly pondering in his mind. Whoosh! A terrifying force swept over, enveloping Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan did not attempt to resist at all, knowing that in terms of the hierarchy of power, he was even inferior to the ancestor of the immortal path, let alone the immortal realm consciousness. The biggest reliance Lin Yuan dared to draw close was his comprehension of the rules, specifically his comprehension of time-space. The seventh realm comprehension of time-space allowed Lin Yuan to reign over the immortal realm on the temporal and spatial plane, which was also why the ancestor of the demon abyss attempt to break through a certain region's time-space couldn't affect Lin Yuan. Boom! The furious force from the origin power in an instant swept past Lin Yuan, then charged into the distance. It didn't touch me? Lin Yuan felt certain in his heart. As long as the immortal realm consciousness couldn't touch him, everything would be manageable. If the immortal realm consciousness could lock onto the location of Lin Yuan's true body, then he would definitely no longer approach. Boom! Without touching Lin Yuan, the immortal realm consciousness didn't stop. Instead it continued to gather the power of the entire primordial lands to suppress him. Lin Yuan did not interfere, but continued to slowly approach the location where the immortal realm consciousness resided. Several days passed quickly. Perhaps realizing that it couldn't touch Lin Yuan, after a brief pause, a wave of consciousness emerged, indicating that the immortal realm consciousness wanted to communicate with Lin Yuan. The immortal realm consciousness, being a consciousness, could certainly communicate. It just never needed to against the ancestor of the immortal path previously. But now, Lin Yuan's presence made the immortal realm consciousness feel troubled to at least no end, which is why it initiated communication. Let me in to experience the rules themselves. Lin Yuan communicated his purpose as well. Impossible, the immortal realm consciousness responded furiously, outright refusing. Its location was at the core of the primordial lands, the very source where the consciousness of the immortal realm was born. It's not just the source of the myriad rules of the immortal realm but also the foundation of its own consciousness. If Lin Yuan were to enter, what he could do would not be limited to perceiving the rules themselves but also laying hands directly on the immortal realm consciousness. Outside the core area, the immortal realm consciousness could easily mobilize the power of the entire realm, omnipresent, but within the core, the power of the immortal realm couldn't penetrate. Even the force of the origin power couldn't affect it. In the core, the immortal realm consciousness was like a toothless tiger. I promise I won't lay a hand on you, Lin Yuan immediately stated. Having once replaced the world consciousness of the Tianqing world, He knew exactly what these consciousnesses feared most, so he quickly gave his assurance. However, the immortal realm consciousness did not respond to him. It even quieted down the boiling primordial lands swiftly. Not willing to communicate with me? Lin Yuan thought for a moment and continued to approach the core where the immortal realm consciousness resided. Very soon, Lin Yuan stopped. A time-space barrier? Lin Yuan gazed at the distorted space-time before him. Even with his seventh realm time-space comprehension, he couldn't advance any further at this moment. It seems this is your reliance? Lin Yuan had a sense of it in his mind. To enter the core where the immortal realm consciousness resided, besides facing the frenzied counterattack from the immortal realm consciousness, one must also cross the time-space barrier before them. Divine skills. Rend the heavens. Lin Yuan raised his right hand, and an invisible force converged, gently tearing at the time-space barrier in front of him. This divine skill was awakened during Lin Yuan's recent traversal, a physical body divine ability, either pure or extremely offensive. With one tear from Lin Yuan, the time-space barrier before him began to ripple slightly, but in an instant, it recovered. Did it work? Lin Yuan did not continue his action. A moment later, two figures appeared not too far away. It was Lin Yuan's Taiyin primordial spirit and Taiyang divine spirit. The power of the divine skill Rend the Heavens depended on the comprehensive foundation of the user. Avatars conjured by Lin Yuan, although possessing high combat prowess, were obviously far inferior to his two major primordial spirits. Of course, even the two major primordial spirits had a vast gap compared to the true body. The Rend the Heavens divine skill deployed by the avatars could only slightly stir ripples on the time-space barrier. But the two primordial spirits, rip. The two primordial spirits extended their right hands, gently tearing at the distant space-time barrier. In an instant, the space-time barrier began to tremble slightly, before quickly returning to normal. If you don't let me in now, I will bring the ancestor of the immortal path with me. Lin Yuan actively communicated with the consciousness of the immortal realm. With the ancestor of the immortal path's attack capabilities, even if he cannot break the space-time barrier in a short time, given enough time, 100 million years, 1 billion years, 10 billion years, will you be able to stop him? In fact, the ancestor of the immortal path's methods could not reach the space-time barrier at all. Before getting close, he was suppressed by the overwhelming power of the world summoned by the consciousness of the immortal realm. But the situation would be different with Lin Yuan's help. The insights Lin Yuan gained in the seventh realm of space-time made him untraceable even by the consciousness of the immortal realm. If Lin Yuan truly intended to bring the ancestor of the immortal path over, what he had just mentioned could truly be realized. Of course, Lin Yuan was only making a threat. In reality, he could not wait for 100 million or 10 billion years either. But the consciousness of the immortal realm didn't know that. By that time, I can't guarantee I won't take action against you, Lin Yuan continued. The consciousness of the immortal realm still gave no response. In that case, I will go and bring over the ancestor of the immortal path now, and while I'm at it, I'll also fetch the ancestor of the demon abyss. One of Lin Yuan's avatars dissolved into silence. At that moment, the previously silent consciousness of the immortal realm began to stir once again, sending a message to Lin Yuan. The gist of it was: how could Lin Yuan assure that once he enters the core area, he won't take action against the consciousness of the immortal realm? You don't have the right to negotiate with me, Lin Yuan shook his head. Either you agree and let me in now, or 100 billion years later, I and the ancestor of the immortal path will force our way in. Having said this, Lin Yuan quietly waited for the reply from the consciousness of the immortal realm. After a long time, the consciousness of the immortal realm finally sent another message. It agreed to Lin Yuan's demands. To Lin Yuan, 100 million or a billion years was an incredibly long time. But for the consciousness of the immortal realm, it was almost the same as tomorrow or the day after. So the problem now facing the consciousness of the immortal realm was simple. Let Lin Yuan in today, or be forced by Lin Yuan tomorrow or the day after. The two outcomes were drastically different. That's more like it, Lin Yuan smiled slightly. The two primordial spirits disappeared, leaving only one avatar standing there. The distant space-time barrier began to distort, forming a temporary passageway to the core area. The next moment, Lin Yuan stepped into it. The ancestor of the immortal path's eyes widened. As soon as the primordial lands began to tremble, the ancestor of the immortal path had been observing the contest between Lin Yuan and the consciousness of the immortal realm through some method. Seeing Lin Yuan, who is profound in the martial arts of space-time, approaching the core area, only to be stopped outside the space-time barrier, the ancestor of the Immortal Path was watching all along. Afterward, when Lin Yuan's two primordial spirits appeared and executed a heaven-tearing strike, the ancestor of the Immortal Path was also aware. Although the ancestor of the Immortal Path did not know the exact content of the communication between Lin Yuan and the consciousness of the Immortal Realm, the final act of the consciousness of the Immortal Realm involuntarily opening up a passageway allowing Lin Yuan to enter was crystal clear in the eyes of the ancestor of the Immortal Path. Did the ancestor of martial arts go in? The ancestor of the Immortal Path was slightly stunned. For countless eons, he had also been longing to enter the core place where the consciousness of the Immortal Realm resided, but it was merely a longing, unless he could once again achieve a qualitatively substantial leap in strength. Otherwise, he was no match for the consciousness of the Immortal Realm at all. But Lin Yuan? Having just arrived in the primordial lands for a mere 200 years, yet entering a place even the ancestor of the Immortal Path had long desired but could not reach? At the core of the primordial lands, Lin Yuan appeared here. All around him, darkness reigned, with countless points of light drifting slowly. At a glance, Lin Yuan realized that these points of light corresponded to certain rules themselves. In the pitch-black space, countless points of light were floating, with the smallest being the size of a fist and the largest as vast as stars. This is marvelous. Lin Yuan observed each point of light, even the smallest of which contained countless pieces of information. They represented the rules themselves. Even though Lin Yuan had already thoroughly comprehended these rules, a fresh observation was still immensely valuable. As the Immortal Path enters its end times, these core points of light will collapse one by one, corresponding to the collapse of the Great Tao in the outer world. After the collapse of all the rules contained in these points of light, will they vaguely merge together, waiting for rebirth after a long period of destruction? Lin Yuan thought to himself. Upon entering the core area, he had immediately fallen into an enlightened state, with rules being comprehended and understood in every moment. Is that the actual body of the consciousness of the Immortal Realm? Lin Yuan glanced over with the remaining focus of his mind and spotted a glowing orb floating in the distance. This orb was different from the other points of light around it, and it was the consciousness of the Immortal Realm. At this moment, the orb was watching Lin Yuan with extreme wariness. The concerns of the consciousness of the Immortal Realm were clear to Lin Yuan, who at this moment couldn't be bothered to reassure it, completely immersing his mind in the endless points of light around him. Time passed. Unknowingly, 1,000 years had gone by. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 926 Surpassing the 9 Great Supremes, Seeking Subscriptions. Jianghu Immortal City Drunken Dream Tower. As the most renowned place in Jianghu Immortal City and even the entire Jianghu Immortal Domain, the unique Drunken Dream Immortal Brew of Drunken Dream Tower allows Golden Immortals and Jade Immortals to immerse themselves briefly in a crafted beauteous dream. This immersion is not merely superficial, as it greatly benefits the nurturing of one's spiritual will and allows one to break free at any time. Because of this, every day, immortals from all over the 33 immortal domains specially travel to Drunken Dream Tower. Xianxia the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. To taste the legendary Drunken Dream Immortal Brew. The martial Tao cultivation system is truly impressive, opening internal realms, absorbing the essence of the external world, with the physical body serving as the foundation. In many respects, it is in no way inferior to our Immortal Path cultivation system, and perhaps even. Indeed, I have a descendant with innate divine strength and a powerful physique, but with an inadequate spirit root. I sent him to cultivate the martial Tao, and he has now entered the 6th stage of martial Tao. It makes one wonder what kind of figure the ancestor of martial arts who founded the martial Tao cultivation system truly is. Unfortunately, over 1,000 years ago the ancestor of martial arts had held several public lectures. I missed those due to seclusion and never had a chance to meet the ancestor of martial arts in person. In Drunken Dream Tower, a large number of immortals from all across the immortal realm gather, savoring the Drunken Dream Immortal Brew while discussing major events that occurred in the immortal realm. Among the many topics, the one that sparks the most heated discussion is the martial Tao cultivation system and that outstanding figure, the ancestor of martial arts. There's no need to elaborate on the martial Tao cultivation system. After it spread broadly, it received affirmation from numerous Jade Immortals and was appraised to be on par with the Immortal Path cultivation system. However, this evaluation clearly underestimated the martial Tao cultivation system, as those Jade Immortals who made the appraisal were all stalwarts of the immortal path with an inherent filter toward their own cultivation system. And the ancestor of martial arts? Over 1,000 years of proliferation, the ancestor of martial arts is now universally acknowledged as the third ancestral master-level powerhouse of the immortal realm and demon abyss. By spreading the martial Tao cultivation system and single-handedly ending the war between immortals and demons, he silenced many disciples of the ancestor of the immortal path lineage. Although the ancestor of martial arts has not made a move since the war between immortals and demons over 1,000 years ago, the reaction of the disciples from the ancestor of the immortal path lineage reveals a lot of information. It is said that in the Xianxia immortal domain, a martial arts powerhouse has specifically founded an immortal city called Kaiyuan Martial City, where many martial arts powerhouses converge, including the disciples of the ancestor of martial arts who reside there. I've heard about it too. At the inauguration of Kaiyuan Martial City, celestial phenomena emerged, and even the direct disciples of the ancestor of the immortal path lineage went to offer their congratulations. One wonders where the ancestor of martial arts is now. The immortals speak with a sense of wistfulness. Many ancient immortals have lived for countless eons and witnessed numerous prodigious powerhouses. Yet someone like the ancestor of martial arts, who became an ancestral master upon emergence, that is beyond the imagination of all immortals. That is an ancestral master. Since the formation of the immortal realm, even including that of the demon abyss, there were only 2 ancestral masters. Many immortals even believed that a third ancestral master-level powerhouse would never emerge. Drunken Dream Tower's Class A Palace. This is where Drunken Dream Tower specifically entertains distinguished guests. Only top-level Jade Immortals are admitted. Lin Yuan is sitting inside. Naturally, the conversations and discussions of the many immortals in Drunken Dream Tower cannot escape his ears. For over 1,000 years, Lin Yuan's true self and 2 primordial spirits have been dedicated to arduous cultivation and enlightenment of the Tao. Additionally, he also creates avatars to wander the immortal realm. The Lin Yuan sitting in the Class A Great Hall of Drunken Dream Tower at this moment is one such avatar, who came casually upon hearing the fame of the Drunken Dream Immortal Brew. The evolution pathway of martial arts is developing nicely. Lin Yuan sits cross-legged, pondering silently. This could be discerned from the discussions of many immortals within Drunken Dream Tower. In over 1,000 years, the martial Tao evolutionary pathway has not produced many martial arts powerhouses. Apart from Lin Yuan, the strongest is still Li Qin. However, the number of cultivators and the breadth of dissemination of the martial Tao evolutionary pathway have almost encompassed all 33 immortal domains. Lin Yuan is quite satisfied with this. Given the current foundation of the martial Tao evolutionary pathway, provided that there is enough time, in hundreds of thousands or millions of years, it will be not the slightest bit weaker than the immortal path cultivation system, birthing martial arts powerhouses of the 11th order. Lin Yuan gently closes his eyes and before him, the vista abruptly turns pitch black, densely dotted with sparkling stars. Each point of starlight symbolizes a martial Tao cultivator. At this moment, the multitude of starlight Lin Yuan perceives is vast and stretches beyond the immortal realm. Lin Yuan is not only spreading the martial Tao in the immortal realm. In the 3,333 subordinate worlds like the spirit realm, the martial Tao evolutionary pathway is also being disseminated. Although the spirit realm is far from comparable to the immortal realm, and even when all 3,333 subordinate worlds are combined, they do not match the size of a single immortal domain in the immortal realm. But a mosquito is still flesh, and to enhance his own ultimate leap in foundation, Lin Yuan will not overlook any opportunity to strengthen himself. Given enough time, Lin Yuan even plans to spread the martial arts in worlds like the central divine continent of the spirit realm, a subordinate world of the spirit realm with up to 1 million subordinate worlds. The same is true for the other 3,332 subordinate worlds of the immortal realm. Now, the number of beings practicing the martial Tao evolutionary pathway might even surpass the combined number of practitioners of the 9 supreme evolutionary pathways of human civilization. Lin Yuan thought to himself internally. The immortal realm alone is comparable to 1% of the main universe in size. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 927 Beyond the 9 Great Supreme, Subscribe Request, _2 Human civilization is one of the 12 peak powers of the main universe, occupying a territory approximately 1/20th to 1/30th the size of the main universe. In terms of area size, the territory of human civilization is 3 to 4 times that of the immortal realm. However, human civilization has 9 supreme evolutionary paths, while the Immortal realm only has the Immortal Path Cultivation System and the Martial Tao Cultivation System, plus the evolutionary paths spread by Lin Yuan through his past 10 interdimensional travels. And among the humans in the main universe who cultivate the evolutionary path of Martial Tao, the total number of cultivators in the 9 great evolutionary paths of human civilization combined might actually be less than those on the Martial Tao evolutionary path. After all, the Martial Tao evolutionary path is not limited to the main universe, but spans across endless dimensions and realms of all heavens. Lin Yuan's cultivation time is still short, and the number of travels he has experienced is also few, but as the worlds he travels to evolve, the spread of the Martial Tao evolutionary path will become even broader. I can feel that the more beings cultivate the Martial Tao evolutionary path, the lighter the suppression of the river of time on me is, Lin Yuan thought silently to himself. This feeling was not apparent before his journey to the Immortal realm, until the Martial Tao evolutionary path was thoroughly spread in the Immortal realm. Countless Martial Tao cultivators collectively uplifted Lin Yuan, an elevation not of divine faith, but under Lin Yuan's control. While Lin Yuan was inspecting himself, a graceful Lady Jade Immortal slowly walked into the palace. This Lady Jade Immortal was none other than the owner of Drunken Dream Tower. When Lin Yuan hurried to the Drunken Dream Tower, he casually revealed a trace of the aura from the Jade Immortal level, which led to the owner of the Drunken Dream Tower personally welcoming him. Even for the Drunken Dream Tower, it was not every day that a Jade Immortal level powerhouse visited. Figures of the Jade Immortal level were revered guests no matter where they went. Immortal Monarch, this is our dream level Immortal brew from the Drunken Dream Tower. Are you sure you want to drink this Immortal brew? The owner of the Drunken Dream Tower asked with a smile, her gaze gently resting on Lin Yuan. The most famous Immortal brew in the Drunken Dream Tower is also available at different levels. The Dream level Immortal brew is the raw essence of the Immortal brew. Even top Jade Immortals, if not careful, are unable to control plunging completely into a dream state. This is a complete plunge, reducing perception of the outside world to the lowest level. Therefore, even Jade Immortal level existences who wish to taste the Immortal brew would not opt for the Dream level, as the risk is too great. Even though the Drunken Dream Tower has a good reputation, fully plunging into a dream can be quite embarrassing. No matter. Lin Yuan waved his hand. The owner of the Drunken Dream Tower personally brought the Immortal brew to Lin Yuan. Please drink, Immortal Monarch. The owner of Drunken Dream Tower watched Lin Yuan with an expectant expression. The formula for the Immortal brew is adjusted periodically based on the responses of those immortals who drink it. Other levels of Immortal brew are okay with many immortals consuming them, and the owner of the Drunken Dream Tower covertly observing and adjusting. But the Dream level Immortal brew? Even if a Jade Immortal wishes to try the taste of the Dream level Immortal brew, they usually buy it to drink in their own dwelling. That way, even if they fall into a deep dream, they can ensure their own safety. Those daring to order and directly drink the Dream level Immortal brew in the Drunken Dream Tower are truly very few. The owner of the Drunken Dream Tower certainly did not want to miss this very rare observation opportunity. Lin Yuan glanced at the Immortal brew before him and directly picked it up to drink. The taste is quite decent. Lin Yuan savored it thoughtfully, and indeed, the Dream level Immortal brew could nourish the spirit and will. However, Lin Yuan's spiritual will was extremely strong, so the hallucinogenic effects of the brew almost had no effect on him. Lin Yuan came to taste the Immortal brew more as a trial, just to enjoy the gastronomic pleasure. Spiritual will strength increased a bit? Lin Yuan raised an eyebrow, unsure if it was due to the Immortal brew, but at this moment, his spiritual will had slightly increased, imperceptibly. After over 1,000 years of cultivating at the core of the origin of the Immortal realm and understanding the rules of the Immortal realm itself, Lin Yuan's spiritual will strength had already increased to over 3,340,000 points. The taste, quite decent? The owner of the Drunken Dream Tower was slightly stunned, even doubting whether she served Lin Yuan the wrong brew, not the dream level but a regular Immortal brew? Otherwise, how could Lin Yuan still evaluate it so calmly now? How's the taste? From the host of Drunken Dream Tower's perspective, shouldn't Lin Yuan's normal reaction after drinking the dream level Immortal brew be to quickly fall into a dream, so she could thoroughly observe his reaction? This is Immortal Crystal. Lin Yuan left behind Immortal Crystals to pay for the dream level Immortal brew and vanished within the palace. With Lin Yuan's current power being in the origin of the Immortal realm, he could condense as many Immortal Crystals as he desired if he wished. He really didn't fall into a dream? The host of Drunken Dream Tower couldn't believe it as she looked at the cup Lin Yuan had drunk from and subconsciously picked it up and gently licked it. Suddenly, a feeling of dizzying illusion surged to her heart. Even just lightly tasting it, the host of Drunken Dream Tower began to uncontrollably fall into a dream. Drunken Dream Immortal Scripture, the unique true self. The host of Drunken Dream Tower immediately circulated her immortal power. As the creator of the immortal brew, she naturally had great resistance to any bewitching methods. Even so, because the amount of immortal brew she tasted was just a trace, it took her several days to recover fully. It's truly a dream-level immortal brew. The now sober host of Drunken Dream Tower didn't feel the slightest joy, but instead fell into a sort of extraordinary shock. Given her resistance to bewitching methods, even the top Jade Immortal would not match her. Despite this, just a tiny lick of the dream-level immortal brew nearly overwhelmed her, while Lin Yuan, who drank a whole cup, acted as if nothing had happened. To withstand the dream-level immortal brew? Who is this person? Even a top-level Jade Immortal can't do this. The host of Drunken Dream Tower felt unsettled for a long time, and faintly she realized the young man who drank that cup of immortal brew probably had an extremely terrifying background. In another immortal city several immortal domains away from Jianghu Immortal City, Lin Yuan leisurely walked along the open street. After over 1,000 years I still couldn't grasp the chaos rule, Lin Yuan thought as he walked. I am very sure that I am incredibly close to it. 1,000 years ago the consciousness of the immortal realm compromised, allowing Lin Yuan to enter the core area and directly face many fundamental rules. Since then Lin Yuan had made unprecedented rapid progress in rule comprehension, gaining new pillar-level fusion rules at every moment. This rapid progress lasted for 1,000 years. From 1,000 years ago to now, the pillar-level fusion rules that Lin Yuan newly comprehended had reached over 3 million types, raising all of them to the 7th realm. The 7th realm of pillar-level fusion rules, under normal circumstances, is only accessible by those at the 12th tier ultimate level. Lin Yuan not only stepped into it, but he did so with over 3 million types at once. In terms of the accumulation of foundational knowledge in rule comprehension, even excluding understanding of the spatio-temporal fusion rule, Lin Yuan believed that even a large part of the 12th tier ultimate level couldn't match him. Even so, Lin Yuan still hadn't completely understood the chaos rule. It seems I've been very fortunate. If I hadn't arrived in the immortal realm, never entered the core of the primordial lands, reaching this step would probably need tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of years. Lin Yuan's thoughts retracted as he secretly thought to himself. The core of the origin of the immortal realm was indeed of great help to him. Of course, this was also because Lin Yuan's comprehension was extraordinary. Unlike others, even the ancestor of the immortal path couldn't fathom 3 million types of pillar-level fusion rules at the core, raising them all to the 7th realm, even after 1,000 years. Let alone 1,000 years, even 100 billion or 1 trillion years would not be achievable. Fathoming so many pillar-level fusion rules wasn't just about having time. There were countless bottlenecks and constraints. The slightest stagnation could mean billions of years passing. The internal world. Lin Yuan's thoughts shifted slightly, descending into his internal world. Though it was just an incarnation, it shared the same consciousness, and the understanding of rules was synchronized. Hence, the internal world was also filled with endless rule fluctuations. All rule fluctuations appeared substantial, converging into a huge, towering egg spanning under the sky. Chapter 928 Shattered. Returning tomorrow, requesting monthly votes at the start of the month for guaranteed minimum, compared to 1,000 years ago. At this moment, the egg formed by the nurturing of countless rules within the world inside his body has already solidified into a substantial form. Even Lin Yuan can feel the vast fluctuations within the egg. What is being nurtured inside should be the chaos rule. Lin Yuan gazed at the towering gigantic egg, thinking to himself. In a certain sense, this egg is the Tao fruit that he has been comprehending for 1,000 years, or to be precise, the culmination of his comprehension of many rules up to now. With the towering gigantic egg fully materialized, it means that Lin Yuan is infinitely close to grasping the chaos rule. At least now, the chaos rule for Lin Yuan is no longer elusive but tangible, much like the egg within the world inside his body. The chaos rule, Lin Yuan sighed inwardly. No wonder comprehending the chaos rule at level 11 is the stuff of legends within legends. Even for beings of Shenhuang Majesties and Moyu Tower Masters caliber, they've only heard of it and never actually witnessed it in the chaos void. Because attaining comprehension of the chaos rule at level 11 is indeed too difficult. Lin Yuan, with his Against Heaven's understanding and the Myriad Realms Gate, was able to traverse and descend upon the myriad worlds, taking advantage of the differences between various dimensions, as well as the opportunities of each world, to finally reach this step. As for other level 11 beings, to comprehend the chaos rule, how many detours would they have to take? How many resources would they have to exhaust? Perhaps a Chaos Realm powerhouse demonstrating the complete Chaos Rule might be somewhat helpful for comprehending the Chaos Rule. Lin Yuan silently pondered. Chaos Realm entities at level 12 have basically comprehended the Chaos Rule, and can fully manifest the Chaos Rule they have comprehended. But manifesting it and making a level 11 lifeform comprehend it are entirely two different matters. The universe is replete with infinite mysteries in the heavens and the Chaos Void, but in the end, how many lives can reach the ultimate limit? 9th Stage Martial Tao First Tier Chapter. Bits and pieces about the First Tier Chapter floated through Lin Yuan's mind. 9th Stage Martial Tao First Tier Chapter. Lin Yuan began attempting its creation while still at Stage 10 and officially started perfecting it upon stepping into level 11. However, it was only in the recent decades, by utilizing the countless rules at the core of the primordial lands of the Immortal Realm, that Lin Yuan finally managed to complete the 9th Stage Martial Tao First Tier Chapter. The 9th Stage Martial Tao First Tier Chapter represents the ultimate leap, the final realm, and serves as an aggregate sublimation of the previous 10 realms. The first tier chapter developed by Lin Yuan is rooted in the spatiotemporal fusion rule, and specifically constructs 33,333 spatiotemporal models ranging from the 1st to 5th realm of spacetime. The rule models are the way evolutionary scholars of human civilization extract and describe the cosmic laws in an easy-to-understand model. Just like various physical and mathematical formulas? Initially, these formulas didn't exist. They were all summarized by those great scientists through continuous calculations. It's the same for rule models. They are the result of painstaking efforts by the evolutionary scholars of human civilization, who derived them from the most fundamental rules of the universe. The foundational space rule model, core space rule model, and the time rule model that Lin Yuan first comprehended are such cases. However, evolutionary scholars of human civilization have their limits in terms of understanding. At most, they have only summarized thousands of time rule models. And even if one comprehends all these thousands of time rule models, they would still be far from completely grasping the rule of time. The rule models that human civilization has developed and mastered are limited to time rule models. As for further spatiotemporal rule models, they simply cannot be materialized. This isn't because these evolutionary scholars of human civilization are withholding secrets, but rather their level of understanding is limited. Lin Yuan is different. With his against heaven's understanding, his perception of the rules quickly surpassed the sum total of all of human civilization's evolutionary scholars. And this time his experience in the immortal realm, especially the insights gained at the heart of the primordial lands, has elevated his understanding of the rules to an unprecedented level. Utilizing the insights from the millions of pillar-level fusion rules outside the 6th realm of spacetime, he finally succeeded in constructing the spatiotemporal fusion rule model, covering the 1st to 5th realms of spacetime. Bear in mind that establishing corresponding rule models is an entirely different concept from fully comprehending those rules. Among human civilization, there are 11th-level perfected evolvers who have reached the 5th realm in their understanding of spacetime, but not a single one has managed to construct, not even a single realm's spatiotemporal fusion rule model. The 9 ultimate powerhouses are the same, their comprehension of the spatiotemporal fusion rules has reached the 6th realm, but to construct a spacetime comprehension model applicable to all evolvers is still as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Apart from the spatiotemporal fusion rule models, Lin Yuan has also added some other rule models within the 9th Stage Martial Tao First Tier Chapter. These rule models are special rules that Lin Yuan perfected and developed in his spare time. The 33,333 spatiotemporal fusion rule models will make future martial arts evolutionaries' comprehension of spacetime a bit easier. Lin Yuan thought silently to himself. These tens of thousands of spatiotemporal fusion rule models can also be used by other evolutionary paths, but they work best for martial arts evolutionaries. Of course, even with a clear rule model for reference, comprehending all the spacetime rule models is no easy task. Name: Gao Wuyo Lin Yuan. Status: Holder of the Myriad Realms Gate, Innate Talent, Against Heaven's Understanding, Divine Skills, Blood Resurrection, Divine Skills, Mountain Moving, Divine Skills, Strengthening, Divine Skills, Elemental Body, Divine Skills, World, Divine Skills, Sky Ripping, Current Status, Consciousness Descended, Remaining Residency Time, 98 years. Lin Yuan glanced at the ethereal text below his sight. There are still 98 years of residency time left. After contemplating for a moment, Lin Yuan's figure vanished from the spot. Kaiyuan Martial City. This is the first martial city in the Immortal realm, corresponding to the various immortal cities of the Immortal Path cultivation system. For over 1,000 years, the number of martial Tao cultivators in the 33 immortal domains of the Immortal realm has become countless, and Kaiyuan Martial City has become the sacred ground in the hearts of all martial Tao cultivators. Because the establishment of this martial city was directed by the ancestor of martial arts, the first city lord of Kaiyuan Martial City was also a direct disciple of the martial ancestor. In the center of the martial city, the Grand Martial Hall. At the highest seat of the throne, a figure appeared silently and slowly sat down. Teacher. Li Qing below, seeming to sense something, immediately paid her excited respects to the figure on the throne. Over 1,000 years, Li Qing had met Lin Yuan only a handful of times. Martial ancestor. Shan Yang Nie Yun, and other ninth-stage martial Tao cultivators were likewise invigorated. They all came from the spirit realm and had followed Lin Yuan through the realms more than once. All rise. Lin Yuan waved his hand dismissively and spoke casually. The currently strongest in martial Tao were none other than Li Qing and other ninth-stage cultivators. This is the 11th level martial Tao chapter. Lin Yuan lifted his right hand, and the intricacies of the 11th level martial Tao chapter flooded into the minds of Li Qing and the others. The 11th level martial Tao chapter was not so much created by Lin Yuan as it was a replication based on his own insights, similar to those of the ancient gods of the main universe. The evolutionary pathway of the ancient god propagated by the ancient gods is a replication of their own being. When imparting the 11th level martial Tao chapter, Lin Yuan had no concerns whatsoever. For example, would future martial Tao cultivators rapidly advance to level 11 perfect through the 11th level martial Tao chapter and then surpass Lin Yuan in reaching the ultimate level? Not to mention with Lin Yuan's rate of cultivation whether such a thing could happen. Even if it did happen, as long as Lin Yuan, the founder of martial Tao, did not die, latter generations of cultivators would not be able to surpass him. This was also a certain insight Lin Yuan had recently gained as the number of martial Tao cultivators rapidly increased. Any pathway of evolution or cultivation system, if the founder dies, naturally all beings under the frosted sky compete for freedom. Any cultivator of that evolutionary pathway or cultivation system could potentially challenge the ultimate level. But as long as the founder lives, the fundamental mark of the evolution pathway remains with the founder, overshadowing all cultivators of the same evolutionary pathway in the world. The 11th level martial Tao chapter? The minds of Li Qing and the others were a muddled mess. They spent a lot of time barely digesting the 11th level martial Tao chapter. After all, dealing with over 30,000 spatiotemporal fusion rule models and many other rule models, it was quite strenuous for those at the 9th stage of martial Tao. If it hadn't been for Lin Yuan actively sealing most of the content, waiting for Li Qing and the others to reach a certain realm before unsealing it, their minds and wills might have already burst. Teacher, this, after barely recovering, a hint of unease began to emerge in Li Qing's heart. At her level, she was far from qualified to contact the 11th level chapter. Why did Lin Yuan pass on such precious advanced paths of cultivation to her? Next, I will enter seclusion. I estimate it will be a long time before I intervene in the affairs of the immortal realm, Lin Yuan said. This was indeed true. There were 98 years left until the end of his traversal. During these 98 years, Lin Yuan planned to retract all his mind and soul, concentrating all his energy on contemplating the rules, striving to comprehend the chaos rule before his time of stay comes to an end. Yes. Li Qing and the other martial Tao cultivators immediately bowed in response. After imparting a few more instructions, Lin Yuan's avatara then disappeared from the martial hall. The next moment, Lin Yuan appeared in the vast void. This place was no longer within the immortal realm but instead was the vast void outside of the world. In this void, the immortal realm was the undisputed highest world, with countless subordinate worlds rising and sinking below it. Immortal realm. Lin Yuan kept descending, gazing down upon the immortal realm with an overlooking stance. In Lin Yuan's vision, the immortal realm was vast and grand, a stable product formed by the incessant interweaving and influence of myriad rules. At the same time, another of Lin Yuan's primordial spirits was within the very origin core of the immortal realm, observing the many fundamental rules of the immortal realm from the minutest detail. The two combined. As if heaven and earth collided, all things began to shatter and rebirth. Over the past 1,000 years, the hundreds of thousands of rules Lin Yuan had comprehended seemed to undergo some kind of qualitative change, starting to slowly collapse and merge into one. Thump. A faint cracking sound resonated at the level of Lin Yuan's heart and mind. Lin Yuan's consciousness descended to his inner world. The towering giant egg, formed by the interweaving of countless rules, always lying across the sky. At some unknown time, a crack had appeared. Chapter 929 All Rules of the Great Tao Origin from Chaos. Please subscribe. Crack crack. Following the appearance of the first crack, on the surface of the immense egg, a second and third crack continuously appeared. Each crack quickly spread, expanded, and split. In an instant, the mighty egg, spawned from myriad rules, was covered in cracks. Chaos. At this moment, Lin Yuan's true body primordial spirit and all his avatars, finally completely merged all the rules they comprehended. For 1,000 years, Lin Yuan had comprehended more and more rules, and many of these rules had already begun to fuse, and now they completely merged together. Boom. The cracked mighty egg silently collapsed, giving birth to a new rule overarching myriad rules spawned from them. This is chaos. Chaos rule. Finally. I finally comprehended the chaos rule. Lin Yuan opened his eyes. In the moment the chaos rule was born, Lin Yuan's all avatars and both primordial spirits mastered it instantly. Is this the chaos rule? Everything in Lin Yuan's view became simple. If the space-time rule is the foundation of all things and the movement of the world and the influence of rules cannot be separated from space-time rule, then the chaos rule is everything of all things, from space-time rule to the basic rules of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, all stem from the chaos rule. All grand Tao rules originate from chaos. My mind, will, my soul, my body, everything about me is getting stronger. After giving birth to the chaos rule, Lin Yuan felt everything about him transforming dramatically. In fact, it is very hard to advance further when one has reached the height like Lin Yuan. It's nearly impossible to experience a surge in strength unless one crosses a major boundary. 1,000 years ago and 1,000 years later, the latter Lin Yuan comprehended several million pillar-level fusion rules more than the former, but the strength difference between the two periods of Lin Yuan was not significant. Several million pillar-level fusion rules, although numerous, seemed like loose soil. Hard to form a unified power. But now, as the chaos rule was born, several million rules on the other shore quickly combined, forming a razor-sharp, indestructible blade. 40 million points of mind will. Lin Yuan slightly sensed and confirmed that his mind will had reached 40 million points. You should know the enhancement of mind awareness is not like the enhancement of the physical soul. Even immersed in the origin core of the immortal realm for 1,000 years, Lin Yuan only managed to increase it by tens of thousands of points. But now, just as the chaos rule was born, the mind will index has exceeded 40 million points, and it hasn't stopped yet. The mind will is still elevating. My perception of space and time is also rapidly improving. Lin Yuan's gaze vaguely pierced through infinite space-time, where previously he could only sense the space-time range the size of a few dozen immortal realms. Now this range is rapidly approaching the size of 100 immortal realms, moving towards 200 immortal realms, 300 immortal realms. The world within the body. Lin Yuan looked at the world inside his own body, the true Bodhis internal world spanning 2.3 billion miles. Not like the main universe which experienced a breakthrough from the 10th to the 11th layer due to chaos void origin infusion. The normal size of the internal world is this range. This is still based on the transformation enhancement caused by the mysterious gourd, otherwise the maximum limit would just be 10 million square miles. But at this moment, with the birth of the chaos rule, the internal world also began to crazily expand, 10 billion square miles, 100 billion square miles, a trillion square miles. Oh? The river of time? Lin Yuan looked towards the river of time in the immortal realm. Whether in the main universe or the immortal realm, Lin Yuan was always suppressed by the river of time. To break free from this suppression, the only way is the ultimate leap, charging to the 12th layer. Even though the martial Tao evolutionary path spread among infinite beings, the suppression from the river of time on Lin Yuan was at most just slightly alleviated. But now, Lin Yuan clearly felt that the suppression from the river of time on him had greatly decreased. With the decrease in the suppression from the river of time, when Lin Yuan makes the ultimate leap, the backlash he faces from the time river would also decrease. This is also why comprehending the chaos rule at the 11th layer significantly increases the odds of successfully advancing to the ultimate 12th layer. Of course, this is just theoretical. Those who have comprehended the chaos rule are no longer at the 11th layer. The so-called comprehending chaos rule at the 11th layer is merely based on the principle that chaos derives everything. In essence, the time river stems from the combination of time and space. Space-time can suppress all life but cannot suppress chaos. As long as one comprehends the chaos rule, even if it's just the first realm of the chaos rule, it can greatly negate the suppression and backlash of the time river. Chaos rule is the threshold for the Dominion realm to step into the chaos realm. To become a powerful entity in the chaos realm, one must comprehend the chaos rule. Lin Yuan silently thought to himself. The 12th layer is divided into 3 levels: Tao Initiation, Dominion, and Chaos. 12th layer Chaos realm could traverse the chaos void. Entities like Shenhuang are peak forces in the chaos realm. Of course, Shenhuang and the Moyu Tower Master are such. With my current strength, should I be able to confront beings like the ancestor of the Immortal realm head-on? Lin Yuan secretly thought. Before comprehending the chaos rule, aided by the spacetime 7th realm, Lin Yuan could only manage to survive in front of the ancestor of the Immortal path. Given the 12th layer ultimate foundation of the ancestor of the Immortal path, even standing still and letting Lin Yuan attack, it would probably be hard to break through his defense. Chapter 930 All Rules of the Great Tao Origin from Chaos. Please subscribe. _2 But now the chaos rule has condensed all the rules that Lin Yuan has comprehended into one. Even though his life essence has not yet stepped into the 12th layer, in terms of frontal combat power, Lin Yuan can certainly be regarded as at the ultimate level of the 12th layer. This is still only the true body of Lin Yuan in the Immortal realm. The true body in the Immortal realm is, after all, just a temporary vessel for Lin Yuan. In terms of foundational accumulation, it is far inferior to the true self in the main universe. The true self in the main universe has a foundation that endured the chaos void origin infusion when breaking through to the 11th layer. However, most of these foundations, due to Lin Yuan's life level not meeting the standard, are submerged deep within his inner world. However, since Lin Yuan has nurtured the chaos rule, even though his life level remains unchanged, his absorption of the chaos void origin will certainly increase significantly. It can be anticipated that once Lin Yuan returns, the strength of his true self in the main universe will definitely improve by a greater margin than his current true self in the Immortal realm. At that time, even if the ultimate beings at the 12th layer in the main universe are somewhat stronger than the ancestor of the Immortal path, Lin Yuan will still be able to contend or even suppress them. The ultimate beings of the 12th layer in the main universe compete with each other, coupled with numerous inherited treasures from beyond the universe and the infusion of the chaos void origin during the ultimate leap. Their average strength far exceeds that of the ancestor of the Immortal path. Do I feel like I am going to be forced to take the ultimate leap at any moment? Lin Yuan let out a sigh of relief. His foundational accumulation is now so strong that even the river of time seems almost unable to restrain him. Hang in there, hang in there. Lin Yuan steeled his spirit. The ultimate leap must take place in the main universe. After all, taking the ultimate leap in the main universe allows one to receive the chaos void origin infusion, something that is not available in the Immortal realm. This is also one of the reasons why the strength of the ancestor of the Immortal path is not as great as the ultimate beings of the 12th layer in the main universe. Lin Yuan is not sure whether, after making the ultimate leap in the Immortal realm, returning to the main universe's chaos void would result in another round of origin infusion. But to be on the safe side, it's better to return and then attempt to ascend to the 12th layer. Chaos rule? Lin Yuan's thoughts converged as he began to become familiar with this entirely new force, or rather rule. As Lin Yuan continuously operated the chaos rule and came into collision with the countless rules of the Immortal realm, the entire operation of rules in the Immortal realm began to tremble incessantly. In the primordial lands, Tao Ancestor Continent. The ancestor of the Immortal path was in secluded cultivation, and even after stepping into the 12th layer, he still needed to comprehend many rules. Suddenly, the ancestor of the Immortal path abruptly opened his eyes, revealing a trace of shock on his face. Why do I feel that all the rule fluctuations are trembling? The ancestor of the Immortal path couldn't believe it. The fluctuations of the rules are orderly and stable. It is the perfect combination of countless rules that allows the world to function completely. Especially in the eyes of a 12th layer being like the ancestor of the Immortal path, rule fluctuations seem to have their own life. But at this moment, the ancestor of the Immortal path clearly perceived that all the rule fluctuations in the primordial lands, to be precise, all the rule fluctuations in the Immortal realm, were beginning to become disorderly and chaotic. It was as if a formerly tranquil pond, where every stream of water was stable, now had a colossal being twisting deep within, causing undercurrents in the placid pond. However, the operation of the world covered by myriad rules already forms a perfect balance. It is not something you can disturb just because you want to, even for someone as powerful as the ancestor of the immortal path. Channeling his own way only allows him to affect the stability of the rules within a certain range. The current widespread chaos of rules throughout the immortal realm was causing some panic in the ancestor of the immortal path. What could be the reason? The ancestor of the immortal path scanned the entire primordial lands as well the 33 domains of the immortal domain. Even far off in the demon abyss, the ancestor of the demon abyss was similarly scrutinizing the vast demon abyss. Is it the ancestor of martial arts? After observing for a long time, the ancestor of the immortal path finally turned his gaze toward the core of the origin of the immortal realm, where the consciousness of the immortal realm resides. That is also where the ancestor of martial arts entered 1,000 years ago. The ancestor of the immortal path was uncertain what exactly was causing the current chaos of rules. But it was definitely not related to him. In the immortal realm and demon abyss, aside from himself, the only one capable of causing such an outcome is the unreachable ancestor of martial arts. Just what has the ancestor of martial arts done to bring about this situation? The ancestor of the immortal path felt waves of tumult in his heart. He could sense the trembling and fear of the primordial lands and the myriad rules of the immortal realm. Has there been a breakthrough stepping into the ancestral realm? The ancestor of the immortal path speculated in his mind, but then shook his head. He was himself at the ancestral realm and knew what kind of impact stepping into the ancestral realm would cause. Although it was immense and unimaginable, it was definitely not what was happening now. And up until now, the ancestor of the immortal path had not sensed any life breaking free from the shackles of the river of time, which meant that the ancestor of martial arts had not yet stepped into the ancestral realm. The operation of the chaos rule was first felt by the ancestor of the immortal path. It was then perceived by many golden immortals and jade immortals of the 33 domains of the immortal domain. Golden immortals, having penetrated the space rules, had a certain degree of sensitivity to space-time, and even more so for jade immortals. In comparison, the immortals below the golden immortals and the many mortals felt a less evident sensation. What on earth is happening? Why are the space rules beginning to destabilize? I'm feeling it too. Many fundamental rules are the same. In the 33 domains of the immortal domain, golden immortals and jade immortals looked fearful. The ancestor of the immortal path had already transcended his own Tao. External changes and rules would not have much impact on him. His foundation was eternally solid, which is the essence of the path-splitting realm. But what about the golden immortals and jade immortals? They are still at the stage of sensing many rules, heavily reliant on external rules. Even a slight disturbance could affect their foundations. Is it because of the ancestor of the immortal path? The ancestor of the demon abyss? Or the ancestor of martial arts? I think it must be the ancestor of martial arts. Indeed, before the ancestor of martial arts was revealed, billions of years passed without witnessing what has happened today. The ancestor of martial arts? Is this the doing of the ancestor of martial arts? The many golden and jade immortals were trembling with fear, not fools to have cultivated to their level, and had faintly speculated that all this might have something to do with the ancestor of martial arts. Of course. Even so, not a single golden or jade immortal dared to go to the martial city to inquire with the disciples of the ancestor of martial arts. What a joke. The ancestor of martial arts was able to cause a disturbance across the entire immortal realm, and even the ancestor of the immortal path and the ancestor of the demon abyss did not make any move, let alone these golden and jade immortals. Going to question them would be seeking death, wasn't it? Did they think they had lived too long? Almost enough. After Lin Yuan familiarized himself with the chaos rule, he gradually ceased. Lin Yuan saw the impact of the chaos rule on the myriad rules of the immortal realm. As the origin rule that reigns supreme above all else, the chaos rule naturally suppresses other rules. Even the space-time rule is no exception. The core of the origin of the immortal realm. Lin Yuan's gaze shifted, looking towards the immortal consciousness hiding in the corner. 1,000 years ago, when Lin Yuan entered here, he discovered the immortal consciousness as if facing a formidable enemy. However, he had always been too lazy to deal with it, focusing instead on comprehending the myriad of rules here. Seeing that Lin Yuan did not overreact, the immortal consciousness gradually let go of its guard and positioned itself beside Lin Yuan, dividing the core area in two. Ever since Lin Yuan had nurtured the chaos rule and actively released its origin rule aura, gently stimulating it to operate, the immortal consciousness immediately scurried like a mouse seeing a cat, without hesitation hiding in the furthest corner, trembling. This greatly surprised Lin Yuan. Although the immortal consciousness could not use the power of the immortal realm in this core area, Lin Yuan could still feel that the immortal consciousness had means to protect itself. 1,000 years ago, the immortal consciousness compromised and let Lin Yuan involuntarily. Besides the fact that Lin Yuan's threat was truly effective, the immortal consciousness itself had other cards up its sleeve. At least it was not completely defenseless against Lin Yuan. Are you afraid? Lin Yuan looked at the immortal consciousness hiding in the corner, proactively asking. The immortal consciousness was only instinctive, and its reactions came from inherent fear. Hum. Shortly after, the immortal consciousness promptly responded, clarifying Lin Yuan's doubts. Chapter 931 Return. End of this volume. Please subscribe. The consciousness of the immortal realm can easily mobilize the entire power of the immortal realm. Even the ancestor of the immortal path, a being of the 12th layer, must retreat before the vast power of the immortal realm. The entire immortal realm is like the body of the immortal realm's consciousness. Even if Lin Yuan enters the heart of the origin core, he cannot harness the power of the immortal realm from here. However, the consciousness of the immortal realm can still control the myriad rules themselves and contend with Lin Yuan. After all, the heart of the origin core is where the myriad rules exist, and the consciousness of the immortal realm also has control over these myriad rules themselves. But after Lin Yuan bred the chaos rule, he naturally suppressed all myriad rules, and the consciousness of the immortal realm sensed that even with control over myriad rules, it could not deal with Lin Yuan, and thus began to fear. After all, Lin Yuan, as of this moment, could erase the consciousness of the immortal realm by force if he so wished. Of course, the consciousness of the immortal realm still has the ability to resist, which is to actively self-destruct, leading to the collapse of the immortal realm. In doing so, the myriad rules of the immortal realm will actively converge into the chaos rule to counter Lin Yuan. But in doing so, the consciousness of the immortal realm will also collapse. Although a destroyed immortal realm would still be reborn and give birth to a new consciousness of the immortal realm, the future consciousness of the immortal realm would not be the same as the current one. Therefore, unless absolutely necessary, the consciousness of the immortal realm will definitely not choose to self-destruct. That is only slightly better than being erased. Rest assured, I will not erase you. Lin Yuan said casually, mainly because erasing the consciousness of the immortal realm brings him no benefit. Now that Lin Yuan has more or less comprehended the rules at the heart of the origin core of the immortal realm, erasing its consciousness does not help him much. In simple terms, whatever Lin Yuan could gain from the consciousness of the immortal realm, he has already obtained. If Lin Yuan truly pressures the consciousness of the immortal realm into a corner, forcing it to self-destruct and perish along with him, Lin Yuan would be indifferent. After all, he could return to the main universe at any moment, but the efforts of spreading martial Tao over 1,000 years in the 33 immortal domains of the immortal realm would then have been in vain. If the immortal realm itself ceases to exist, the martial Tao cultivators would naturally vanish as well. However, since the chaos rule can restrain the consciousness of a realm, I wonder about the consciousness of the main universe, Lin Yuan mused to himself. Although the immortal realm barely ranks on the same level as the main universe, the essence of the rules contained within the main universe is surely far superior to that of the immortal realm. For instance, at the heart of the origin core of the immortal realm, comprehending the pillar-level fusion rules to the 7th realm is the limit. But at the heart of the origin core of the main universe, the limit could rise to the 8th realm or even the 9th realm. Forget it, I reckon I can't even enter the primordial lands of the main universe. Lin Yuan shook his head slightly. The reason he can enter this core is not because of his own strength, but because of his understanding of the space-time rule, which surpasses the space-time of the immortal realm at the 7th realm. As for forcing his way in, the vast power of the immortal realm is enough to suppress even the typical ultimate beings of the 12th layer, with the ancestor of the immortal path as an example. And the space-time of the main universe is even more vast than that of the immortal realm. To surpass the space-time of the main universe, Lin Yuan's perception of space-time would likely have to reach the 8th realm or even the 9th realm. And the 8th realm, the 9th realm of space-time perception? Even for Lin Yuan, it's a field he's confident of touching only after stepping into the 12th layer. You should know, one of Xuanwang's most proud methods is his perception of space-time at the 9th realm. Even among the peak powerhouses of the Chaos realm, very few have space-time perception reaching the 9th realm. I'm leaving. Lin Yuan glanced at the consciousness of the immortal realm, his figure vanishing from the heart of the origin core. After spawning the Chaos rule, Lin Yuan has reached the limit in all aspects. At least this place is of no further assistance to him. Is he gone? The consciousness of the immortal realm paused slightly, and after repeatedly probing its surroundings, confirmed that Lin Yuan was no longer there and immediately began to mobilize the entire power of the immortal realm to heavily guard the core. Although the consciousness of the immortal realm does not have specific thoughts, it has developed a strong instinct, which is to not want to see Lin Yuan again. After all, nobody wants to confront an existence that can completely erase themselves. The Dao Ancestor Continent. The ancestor of the immortal path is still focused on the rule fluctuations that pervade the primordial lands. Has it stabilized again? The ancestor of the immortal path raised an eyebrow, slightly relieved. Although the disorderly and chaotic rule fluctuations cannot affect him, the ancestor of the immortal path still prefers order. Suddenly, at that moment, a figure silently condensed in front of the ancestor of the immortal path. What? The ancestor of the immortal path's expression fluctuated wildly, for this is his Taoist sanctuary, akin to his domain, where the ancestor of the immortal path controls everything, yet someone got inside undetected. It wasn't until the figure appeared before his eyes that the ancestor of the immortal path noticed. The ancestor of martial arts? The ancestor of the immortal path gazed at the figure not far away, recognizing it to be the ancestor of martial arts. Ancestor of the immortal path. Lin Yuan gave a slight smile. I have come to see you today to bid farewell. Indeed, after breeding the chaos rule, the primordial lands no longer hold significance for Lin Yuan. With the remaining decades of his stay, Lin Yuan plans to wander about. Over the past millennium, Lin Yuan's incarnations have nearly visited every corner of the immortal realm. Yet beyond the immortal realm, in the vast void, Lin Yuan has not explored much. Mainly because the void is so vast that even with Lin Yuan's perception of spacetime, he would find it dull and tedious over time. But now it's different. Having realized the chaos rule, the desolate void has, in Lin Yuan's eyes, started to become slightly interesting. Farewell? The ancestor of the immortal path's complexion changed slightly. Lin Yuan plans to leave the primordial lands for only one reason, that is, the rules manifesting from the primordial lands are no longer of any help to him. But how is that possible? The ancestor of the immortal path has cultivated in seclusion in the primordial lands for countless eons, and even now, he still feels that the manifest rules of the primordial lands resonate with him. And yet, Lin Yuan intends to leave after merely 1,000 years? Did fellow Taoist achieve a breakthrough? The ancestor of the immortal path asked tentatively. At this moment, the aura Lin Yuan exudes far surpasses that of 1,000 years ago. The ancestor of the immortal path feels tremendous pressure, especially given Lin Yuan's ability to appear before him silently. The ancestor of the immortal path is almost certain that the recent rule anomaly that affected the entire immortal realm originated from Lin Yuan. Something like that. Lin Yuan said with a smile. Nurturing the chaos rule has brought improvements to Lin Yuan that are nearly equivalent to transcending the ultimate boundary. If not for the infusion of the chaos void origin while attempting the ultimate breakthrough in the main universe, the benefits would almost be akin to that very transcendence. Something like that? The ancestor of the immortal path's thoughts were somewhat complicated. He didn't know in what way Lin Yuan had broken through, at least he could not sense the presence of a fellow ancestral master. But at this moment, Lin Yuan indeed posed a significant threat to the ancestor of the immortal path, a threat on the same level of strength. After I leave, I hope you will look after the many cultivators of the martial Tao lineage, Lin Yuan spoke. This statement could be a request but also a warning. Once the stay limit is reached, Lin Yuan will completely leave the immortal realm. Thus, Lin Yuan specifically came to remind the ancestor of the immortal path. I will certainly do my best for the lineage of fellow Taoist, the ancestor of the immortal path said seriously. Even if Lin Yuan had not achieved a breakthrough, the ancestor of the immortal path would not dare to harm the martial Tao lineage, let alone now, after the breakthrough. Before his breakthrough, the ancestor of the immortal path, although unable to do anything to Lin Yuan, equally, Lin Yuan couldn't do anything to the ancestor of the immortal path either. And now, the ancestor of the immortal path still can't affect Lin Yuan, yet Lin Yuan remains capable of posing a threat to the ancestor of the immortal path. I hope so. Lin Yuan nodded. Even after ending this traversal, Lin Yuan could still keep an eye on the changes within the martial Tao of the immortal realm. After reaching the 7th realm of space-time, Lin Yuan's control over the myriad realms gate has elevated by a level. He can slightly sense it even without the transmission of information from the demon tree. I wonder. The ancestor of the immortal path intended to inquire more about the details of Lin Yuan's breakthrough but realized that the latter had already disappeared. Ancestor of martial arts. The ancestor of the immortal path's gaze was slightly complicated. The time the ancestor of martial arts has emerged is incredibly short, just over 1,000 years to this day. But the influence on the immortal realm and even the ancestor himself is unprecedented. Could the breakthrough of the ancestor of martial arts be related to the consciousness of the immortal realm? The ancestor of the immortal path pondered, also yearning for a breakthrough, especially one of great magnitude like that of the ancestor of martial arts. CTH Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. With this in mind, the ancestor of the immortal path's figure vanished, and before long, he appeared outside the core area of the primordial lands. Rumbling sounds. Before the ancestor of the immortal path could react, he felt the overwhelming force of the immortal realm engulfing him. Begone. The consciousness of the immortal realm emitted fluctuations, and without hesitation, the ancestor of the immortal path retreated rapidly, leaving the area. The ancestor of the immortal path's expression turned unsightly. He didn't expect such a strong reaction from the consciousness of the immortal realm. He had only come to probe. Instead, he was directly expelled. Time has passed. In the blink of an eye, more than 90 years have flown by. In a void far from the immortal realm, Lin Yuan's figure stopped. The residence time is almost up. Lin Yuan looked around the boundless void. In these 90-plus years, through his continuous exploration, he unexpectedly discovered 4 worlds that, while slightly weaker than the immortal realm, transcend the spirit realm. Lin Yuan casually spread the teachings of the martial Tao in these 4 worlds. The martial Tao in the immortal realm is not in any trouble. Even across infinite time and space, Lin Yuan could still clearly sense the situation in the immortal realm. He left an incarnation there specifically for this purpose. It's time to go back. With a slight intention from Lin Yuan, a clock-shaped weapon with an ancient aura appeared in front of him. It was Lin Yuan's origin clock. This origin clock, which had been cultivated since Lin Yuan was at the 6th or 7th layer, has now reached the peak of the 11th layer. Turning all the power of this physical body into origin and infusing it into the origin clock may not transform it into a 12th layer weapon, but it should be close enough. Lin Yuan thought silently to himself. Let's begin. The energies within Lin Yuan began to collapse gradually. With the strength of his current physical body, taking it back to the main universe would require an immense amount of world-breaking origin force. Thus, he simply decided to turn it into nourishment for the transformation of the origin clock. 1 year later, Lin Yuan's physical body and soul had entirely transformed into the most fundamental primal force, fusing into the clock-shaped weapon. The next moment, Lin Yuan's spirit will was drawn, surging into the grand and glorious myriad realms gate deep within his consciousness. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 932 Beyond the Universe. Please subscribe. Shenhuang's Secret Realm. In a daze, Lin Yuan opened his eyes. Back again? Lin Yuan looked around and let out a light sigh. Since returning from the mega battlefield, Lin Yuan's true self had entered the Shenhuang's Secret Realm. Because this place could be considered absolutely safe, even those of the 12th layer path-splitting realm would not be able to find it. As for the Dominator Realm, the Chaos Realm, unless rulers of the main universe from the Dominator Realm or Chaos Realm, or surviving 12th layers from other realms, were rejected by the universe, they wouldn't even be able to enter, let alone locate the Shenhuang Secret Realm. And to break through to the Dominator Realm within a single cosmic era is as hard as ascending to the heavens. Who knows how many cosmic eras are needed to birth just one such being. Moreover, ordinary beings of the Dominator Realm cannot locate the coordinates of the Shenhuang Secret Realm. The Shenhuang, as a peak force in the Chaos Realm, dared to set the heritage site of profound Shenhuang within the universe, surely deeming it to be perfectly safe. With the protection of the universe, even if the Shenhuang truly falls, the Shenhuang Secret Realm can exist for a very, very long time. Lin Yuan's true self hid within the Shenhuang Secret Realm. It was naturally to guard against the ultimate 12 layers of other peak clan powers. After all, Lin Yuan's performance on the mega battlefield was too outstanding. Sir, the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. One could say he single-handedly swept through the forces of the other peak clans. Those ultimate 12 layers from the 11 great peak clans might put aside their pride to secretly assassinate him. Of course, the strongest of human civilization were definitely guarding against this possibility as well. But regardless, Lin Yuan still felt the safest within the Shenhuang Secret Realm. Time and space can actually be utilized like this? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Lin Yuan's gaze turned towards the Shenhuang's secret realm. Following the seventh realm of time and space, the Shenhuang secret realm appeared differently in Lin Yuan's eyes all of a sudden. The time-space mysteries involved, even Lin Yuan at the moment could only discern a fraction of them. The energy contained in the Shenhuang secret realm wasn't vast, but its profundity was definitely at the chaos realm level. Chaos. The more Lin Yuan looked, the deeper he delved, faintly discovering a trace of chaotic power at the very core of the Shenhuang secret realm. Humming sounds. Within Lin Yuan's eyes, myriad rules turned. The chaos rule coursed through his body, the chaos rule bred within the immortal realm. Lin Yuan also mastered it the instant he returned to the main universe. Boom! The entire Shenhuang secret realm began to vibrate slightly. Lin Yuan attracted that trace of chaotic power from the deepest part of the realm, faintly seeing a vision of an extremely ancient past. In the vast chaos void, there stood a towering figure dressed in a golden dragon robe, with fluttering black hair. He raised his right hand, sending 33,333 strands of chaotic power into the immense void, integrating them into 33,333 universes, forming the Shenhuang secret realm. Is that the Shenhuang? Startled in his heart, Lin Yuan had never seen the Shenhuang, but he was convinced that this towering figure was the Shenhuang. So this is how the Shenhuang secret realm came to be? The Shenhuang did not create it one by one but opened it up all at once? Lin Yuan thought to himself. When cultivating the illusory reality secret technique, he had seen the legacy image left by the Moyu Tower Master, but compared to the present Shenhuang, seemed to be on a lower level. Of course, it's also possible that the image left by the Moyu Tower Master was simply too trivial. 33,333 Shenhuang secret realms? Lin Yuan realized that, by using the chaos rule, he briefly connected to the chaotic origin of the Shenhuang secret realm, which is why he was able to see these visions. I should now fully control this secret realm, right? Lin Yuan thought to himself. After all, he was not the creator of the Shenhuang secret realm, and even as its new master, his control over the realm was still lacking that little bit. But now, after communicating with the chaotic origin of the Shenhuang secret realm, Lin Yuan could be said to have completely taken hold of the Shenhuang secret realm. Even if the Shenhuang returned, he could no longer contest with him for control over the realm. What happened? At a high point in the Shenhuang secret realm, a six-armed figure looked at the changes in the Shenhuang secret realm with shock. As the spirit of the Shenhuang secret realm, the six-armed figure naturally had complete control over every detail of the Shenhuang secret realm. At this moment, the vibration of the Shenhuang secret realm and the traction of its chaotic origin were likewise perceived by him. The chaotic origin of the secret realm. The six-armed figure could hardly believe it. The chaotic origin was the foundation of the Shenhuang secret realm, as well as the power left behind by the Shenhuang originally. Although it had been assimilated by the universe after merging, severing it from Xuanhuang's ownership, the level of power was clear. To attract the secret realm's chaotic origin, one must first comprehend the chaos rule, which the vast majority of those at the pinnacle of the dominator realm cannot achieve. Chaos rule? Has the master comprehended the chaos rule? The six-armed figure's mind was muddled. Merely grasping the chaos rule wasn't enough to attract the secret realm's chaotic origin. One must be the master of the Shenhuang secret realm to accomplish this. That is to say, the current changes in the Shenhuang secret realm stemmed from Lin Yuan, who had already realized the chaos rule. The master hasn't stepped into the 12th layer yet, right? The six-armed figure contemplated with difficulty. Without reaching the 12th layer? Comprehending the chaos rule? Even at Xuanhuang's level of realm, such an exceptional genius had never been seen before, only heard of in ancient records with no certainty whether such a being has ever existed. And now, this exceptional genius had actually appeared before him, a mere spirit of the secret realm? Master. Not far from Lin Yuan, the six-armed figure appeared, looking towards the young man sitting cross-legged in front of him, with chaos aura circulating around his body, and called out with a touch of awe. Lin Yuan looked towards the six-armed figure. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 933 Beyond the Universe, Subscription Request, _2-inch Master has comprehended the chaos rule? Even though he was already absolutely certain, the six-armed figure couldn't help but ask. Fortuitously, I have. Lin Yuan replied. In fact, the chaos rule was not something that could be comprehended directly. To be accurate, it was birthed from myriad other rules, at least that was the path Lin Yuan took. Really comprehended it? A tumultuous wave surged once again in the six-armed figure's heart. After dismissing the six-armed figure, Lin Yuan began to observe the changes within himself. The moment he comprehended the chaos rule in the immortal realm, Lin Yuan's physical body, soul, spirit and internal world all underwent substantial leaps in strength. Now, back in his true form in the main universe, Lin Yuan similarly noticed changes in his physical body, soul body, and internal world. The most notable was the internal world. In the immortal realm, Lin Yuan's internal world was only a little over 200 million li in diameter, with no depth of heritage, and yet was able to experience a 10-fold to a 100-fold surge. The internal world of his true form in the main universe, with the chaos void origin accumulated from breaking through to level 11, began to terrifyingly and tremendously ascend after the integration of the chaos rule. Before the 11th traversal, Lin Yuan's internal world was less than 900 billion li in diameter. But now, boom, the internal world began to expand wildly, and a vast amount of the chaos void origin immersed deep within was absorbed. In just 10 breaths, the internal world expanded to reach 9 trillion li in diameter. Another 10 breaths, 20 trillion li in diameter. After another 10 breaths, 50 trillion li in diameter. It was only at this moment that the expansion of the internal world gradually slowed down. 51 trillion li in diameter. Lin Yuan's consciousness incarnation descended into his internal world, overlooking the vast expanse, and his heart couldn't help but be filled with myriad emotions. 51 trillion li in diameter. In fact, it was already possible to use a different unit of measurement. 51 trillion li about equal to 2 light years. That is to say, Lin Yuan's internal world had reached a diameter of 2 light years. Unfortunately, the enhancement to the essence of life from comprehending the chaos rule still cannot compare to the enhancement from breaking through to level 12. Lin Yuan thought to himself. Normally speaking, upon ultimately successful breakthrough to level 11 and stepping into level 12, the internal world would explosively expand to several thousand light years within a short time, transforming into an internal universe. Following this, it would gradually reach tens to hundreds of thousands of light years in diameter, which is the normal standard for level 12 ultimates. Theoretically, the internal world of a path-splitting realm powerhouse at level 12 would be between 100,000 and 1 million light years. Yet at this moment, Lin Yuan's internal world exploded to reach 2 light years and then slowed down. Of course, this doesn't mean that stepping into level 12 is harder than comprehending the chaos rule. On the contrary, the difficulty of comprehending the chaos rule is much higher than breaking through to level 12, not to mention comprehending the chaos rule at level 11. Who knows how many peak sovereigns are unable to comprehend the chaos rule and thus cannot advance further. Wuxia the Nell Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Comprehending the chaos rule and stepping into level 12 focus on completely different aspects. The former leans more towards skill, while the latter is purely about the level of life. For example, a common individual who masters Grandmaster level skills, no matter how much they can eat, can at most consume several tens of gen of food in one meal. But a giant hundreds or thousands of meters tall can easily consume hundreds of tons of food. This is the difference brought about by different levels of life. Although my internal world cannot compare to the ultimate of level 12, I should be no weaker than those level 12 ultimates within the universe. Lin Yuan was very confident. His internal world was his weak point. In addition, his life's hierarchical stage is not as high as the ultimate 12th layer. But in terms of comprehending cosmic rules, Lin Yuan actually surpasses all who are at the ultimate 12th layer within the universe. This is true for both the 7th realm of spacetime and the chaos rule. Secondly, regarding his physical body, when the Xianxia physique is cultivated to a level 11 perfect, it reaches the 12th layer's level. Now, having been nurtured by the chaos rule, it has been elevated even further. There is no need to mention the strength of his soul will. With a soul will index of 40 million points, even if soul weaknesses exist, Lin Yuan can easily ward off other ultimate 12th layer soul ultimates and psychic attacks. 12th layer. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment, feeling the continuous spread of his inner world and the strength of his physical body, etc. He decided to delay the assault on the 12th layer. At the ultimate time, he will once again withstand the infusion of the chaos void origin. The stronger the physical body, the inner world, and the soul are at that time, the more chaos void origin they can contain, and the greater the benefits gained. Currently, Lin Yuan's inner world is only 2 light years in diameter. The benefits brought by the chaos rule have not yet been completely digested. If he waits a bit longer, the final size of the inner world could reach 5 or even 10 light years. The capacity to contain the chaos void origin within an inner world of 5 or 10 light-years would not merely be 3 or 5 times that of the current 2 light-years but dozens of times the difference. Lin Yuan naturally does not wish to give up such benefits. At most, several decades will be needed to reach perfection, and then he'll assault the ultimate layer. Lin Yuan made up his mind. Several decades were nothing to him at his current level of strength. In fact, whether or not he made the assault on the ultimate level did not make much difference. Even without attempting the ultimate level, there is no 12th layer existence in the main universe that can kill him. Cosmic Starry Skies. Lin Yuan's figure appeared out of nowhere. This was his Taiyang divine spirit. The cosmic space-time. Lin Yuan looked deep into the distance. The comprehension of the 7th realm of space-time made his perception incredibly terrifying, reflecting the vast cosmic starry skies and countless spatial layers in his mind. Is this the entire universe? Lin Yuan was slightly shaken inside. Although he could see through every detail of the immortal realm when he was there, now looking down upon the entire universe still stirred something within him. The scale of the cosmic starry skies alone was 100 times that of the immortal realm, with complexity 1,000-fold or even more. Are there dozens of places where spacetime is completely locked down, such that even I cannot perceive them in detail? Lin Yuan discovered that the cosmic starry skies still had secrets in front of him, and there were areas he had yet to explore. These dozens of places, do 7 of them belong to crucial locations of human civilization? Lin Yuan immediately understood in his heart. Any pinnacle race has ancestral lands with rich backgrounds, places of lineage like the clan stars of human civilization and the key locations in the forefront. To prevent snooping by 12th layer ultimates, these crucial ancestral lands naturally have numerous defenses in place. The insect race has 4. Ancestor Jianghu has 5. The Yu clan has 8. Lin Yuan looked around in turn. Lin Yuan didn't forcefully probe these time-space lockdowns that eluded his perception but merely glanced at each from a distance and moved his gaze away. Ichem? The robber clan, only one? Lin Yuan's expression was slightly surprised. Among the cosmic pinnacle race powers, the robber clan is definitely the most mysterious and powerful, only rivaled by the universe clan at their peak. It is said that the robber clan comes from the previous cosmic era and is targeted and suppressed by the cosmic will. Yet, their power cannot be concealed. The 2 12th layer ultimates of the robber clan are already at the pinnacle of the path-splitting realm. If they were not detested by the cosmic consciousness, the robber clan might not rule over the 10,000 universe races, but probably wouldn't be far off. However, even the insect race and the Jianghu clan have several time-space locked ancestral lands, but the even more powerful robber clan only has one? Lin Yuan's gaze pierced through layer upon layer of space-time, looking deep into the robber clan's territory. Lin Yuan couldn't feel anything specific about the robber clan's crucial land. It looked completely ordinary, just a simple cabin. But it was this very cabin that blocked Lin Yuan's vision despite being in the 7th realm of spacetime. I cannot feel any aura from this cabin whatsoever? Lin Yuan observed closely. When facing the other pinnacle race's crucial ancestral lands, even though he could not discern specifics, he could still infer some information. But facing this cabin? There were no clues at all. Interesting. Curiosity sparked within Lin Yuan, and he began to approach the cabin slightly, attempting to observe it through different dimensions of spacetime. Rustle. As Lin Yuan intensified his observation, the door of the cabin abruptly pushed open, and a figure shrouded in mist stepped out. Who is spying on my robber clan's ancestral land? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 934 Upload Martial Tao 11th Tier Chapter. Request for subscription. Discovered. Lin Yuan did not panic, quickly retracting his perception. As long as the other party's fusion of time and space does not reach the 7th realm, at most they might faintly detect Lin Yuan's surveillance. As for pinpointing Lin Yuan's location, it is basically impossible. That's the advantage of the spatiotemporal fusion rule, the initiative completely in Lin Yuan's hands. If it weren't for worrying about the robber clan using some means to attack through space and time along the perception, Lin Yuan would not even retract his perception. In the deepest parts of the robber clan's territory, in an unknowable place, in front of a mysterious cabin, the figure who stepped out from the door stood there, looking around with a heavy gaze. What's going on? A voice came from inside the cabin, seemingly puzzled. I felt that a powerful being was spying on us. The figure standing outside the cabin slowly said. Spying on us? The voice inside the cabin silenced for a while. The ancestral cabin is the foundation of our robber clan. Could these young 12th-tier beings of this cosmic era actually detect the existence of the ancestral cabin? The strongest foundation of the robber clan is this ancestral cabin, which is why they could survive from the last cosmic era to this one. I indeed felt I was being spied on. The figure outside the cabin asserted, detecting the existence of the ancestral cabin must at least be at the peak of the path-splitting realm, and possibly with the aid of a powerful spatiotemporal treasure. Path-splitting realm peak. The voice inside the cabin solemnly said, "The cosmic era is far from over. How has a 12th tier at the peak of the path-splitting realm emerged so quickly?" Normally, in a complete cosmic era, it is rare to see the birth of a 12th tier at the peak of the path-splitting realm. Even if one appeared, it is usually close to the end of the cosmic era. Currently, not even 1/10 of the cosmic era has passed. There simply aren't conditions for the birth at the peak of the path-splitting realm. If not at the peak of the path-splitting realm, who could detect the ancestral cabin? The figure outside the cabin said quietly. Even if possessing a powerful spatiotemporal treasure, one must also have the corresponding realm and comprehension of spacetime to activate it. And the threshold for the latter is the peak of the path-splitting realm. Of course, comprehension of spacetime reaching the 7th realm could also achieve it. But the 7th realm of spacetime is much harder to reach than the peak of the path-splitting realm. Neither the voice inside the cabin nor the figure outside considered this possibility. The figure that emerged from the cabin must be one of the robber clan's 2 12th tiers. Lin Yuan quickly retracted his perception, thinking rapidly. The robber clan only has 2 12th tiers, but they suppress the other top 11 peak clans from making any moves because these 2 12th tiers are both at the peak of the path-splitting realm. The robber clan poses no threat to me. Lin Yuan pondered for a while. The 2 12th tiers of the robber clan, despite having the strength to suppress other ultimate 12th tiers, dare not fully exert their power. Because the real enemies of the robber clan's 2 12th tiers are the cosmic consciousness. If they fully exert their power, they'd be directly suppressed by the cosmic consciousness. The consciousness of the immortal realm commands the power of the immortal realm, capable of suppressing beings like the ancestor of the immortal path at the 12th tier. The cosmos are 100 times vast than the immortal realm, and the cosmic consciousness can easily suppress life at the peak of the path-splitting realm. After roughly gaining insight into the cosmic starry skies, Lin Yuan's thoughts fluttered slightly, and he arrived at a large battlefield. Eternal spatial rift. Lin Yuan looked towards the rift connecting the cosmos to the outside not far away. My perception can cross the spatial rift. As Lin Yuan's thoughts shifted outside the cosmos, the vast chaos void gathered strands of chaotic power, forming a figure. It was Lin Yuan's avatar. Not subjected to the cosmos backlash, Lin Yuan constantly observed the surroundings. Though ultimate existences of the 12th tier are not allowed to leave the cosmic starry skies, that refers to their true bodies. If it's just an avatar carrying not much energy, it can leave. However, the significance isn't very great. Even for an ultimate 12th tier whose comprehension of time-space stays at the 6th realm, even sending an avatar out of the cosmos, it cannot get too far. Once it surpasses a certain range, the connection with the original body severs, and this avatar will collapse. And within the chaos void, filled with omnipresent chaos chi, merely relying on the power of an avatar, it's difficult to resist the erosion of the chaos chi, and even more impossible to last long. But Lin Yuan is different. His 7th realm understanding of space-time allows his avatar to maintain a connection with the primordial spirit of his true body even across vast distances. After mastering the chaos rule, Lin Yuan's avatar, formed entirely of chaos chi, enters the chaos void like a fish in water, without worrying about erosion. It could be useful to explore the chaos void with an avatar. Lin Yuan smiled, the chaos void vast and boundless, containing countless opportunities. Whether it's the outer domain auroras, the white paper containing two-dimensional worlds, or many ancient treasures that fell into the cosmos from earlier, all originate from the chaos void outside the cosmos. Once Lin Yuan can explore the chaos void ahead of time, the help to himself would be unimaginably great. Of course, while the chaos void contains countless opportunities, it is also very dangerous, but Lin Yuan is merely exploring with an avatar, and if he truly encounters an unstoppable danger, he can just dissipate the avatar. Is this the cosmos? Outside the cosmos, Lin Yuan turned back to look at the massive object behind him. Even in the vast chaos void, the cosmos is an immensely massive celestial body, strong enough that not even rulers of realms can meddle with it. In terms of size, the cosmos is on the same level as beings of the chaos realm. Let's go. Lin Yuan paused for a moment and then immediately chose a direction and started to explore towards the chaos void. Milky Way main star. Taiyin primordial spirit was usually stationed here. Martial Tao 11th rank chapter. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged, details about the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter emerging in his mind. As early as in the Immortal realm, Lin Yuan had already fully developed the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter. For the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter, Lin Yuan specifically established tens of thousands of spatio-temporal fusion rule models, as well as many other rule models. This was also one of Lin Yuan's greatest gains in the Immortal realm, mastering hundreds of thousands of pillar-level fusion rules, surpassing those ultimate beings of human civilization in understanding the essence of many rules, which is why he could achieve what even ultimate beings had not accomplished. Establishing spatio-temporal fusion rule models from the 1st to 5th realm. With these rule models, future martial arts evolutionary paths will be much easier. Lin Yuan thought to himself, having rule models as guidance is like having the right direction, and taking a shortcut making the process much easier. And the spatio-temporal fusion rule models established by Lin Yuan were not only applicable to martial arts evolutionaries, but also could be referenced by other evolutionary pathways, though the effects were not as significant. Even so, Lin Yuan could imagine the impact of the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter on human civilization. Nowadays, human civilization has not yet perfected the complete rule of time model, and the current spacetime rule model, even if fully understood, cannot fully comprehend the rule of time. But Lin Yuan directly went further, establishing the spatio-temporal fusion rule model from the 1st to 5th realm. It's almost done. Lin Yuan thought repeatedly, and after confirming that there were no omissions in the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter, he directly contacted the Goddess of Wisdom. Respected 10th level citizen scholar Yuan, the Goddess of Wisdom is pleased to serve you. The solemn and cool voice of the Goddess of Wisdom sounded. I want to upload the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter. Lin Yuan said directly. Martial Tao 11th rank chapter. After a brief pause, the Goddess of Wisdom immediately responded, Respected 10th level citizen scholar Yuan, you can now upload. No sooner had the Goddess of Wisdom finished speaking. Lin Yuan began to upload the well-prepared Martial Tao 11th rank chapter. Compared to the previous Martial Tao 1st tier chapter to 10th rank chapter, the upload speed of the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter was much slower, mainly because the content information was too vast. Spatio-temporal fusion rule models, even the simplest one occupies a space of information thousands to tens of thousands of times that of the earlier Martial Tao 1st tier chapter to 10th rank chapter, not to mention the over 30,000 spatio-temporal fusion rule models established by Lin Yuan. Besides the spacetime rule model, there were also many other rule models, including those more niche rule models. After more than 10 minutes, Lin Yuan had finally uploaded the complete Martial Tao 11th rank chapter. Respected 10th level citizen scholar Yuan, please wait a moment. The Goddess of Wisdom, having received all contents of the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter, immediately began contacting the ultimate beings of human civilization. As early as when Lin Yuan developed the 9th rank chapter, the Goddess of Wisdom was unable to make the most objective judgments on the martial arts evolutionary path and needed the opinions of ultimate beings. The 11th rank chapter was even more so. Virtual world. On the 9 thrones, towering figures appeared one after another. Martial Tao 11th rank chapter? Has the Galaxy Master young fellow already fully developed the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter? Haha, I'm curious what the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter developed by the Galaxy Master looks like. Indeed, from the 1st to 10th rank chapter, truly stunning. Soon, all 9 ultimate beings of human civilization gathered, all showing keen interest. You old guys. Xianxia, an ultimate being, rolled his eyes. Don't put too much pressure on the Galaxy Master. The Martial Tao 11th rank chapter is after all just the 11th rank chapter. Why are you so interested? Xianxia wasn't belittling Lin Yuan, but compared to the uplift the uploading of the 9th and 10th rank chapter brought to the martial arts evolutionary path. Search * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The Martial Tao 11th rank chapter might not be as significant as imagined. Currently, the martial arts evolutionary path is ranked 10th in the human civilization evolution rankings, with the 9 top ultimate evolutionary paths above it. Even if updated with the 11th rank chapter, it will definitely still be ranked 10th, unable to surpass any of the top ultimate evolutionary paths. Even Xianxia himself couldn't figure out how to fully develop and perfect the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter to match the standards from the 1st to 9th rank chapter. Xianxia, you really care about the Galaxy Master. Void God, an ultimate being, said with a smile. Since that's the case, let's watch the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter. just watch normally without too many expectations. Upon hearing this, the other ultimate beings glanced at each other and nodded slightly. While chatting casually, the Goddess of Wisdom had already sent the complete Martial Tao 11th rank chapter to each of the ultimate beings. 11th rank chapter. Xiaxia, an ultimate being, watched it first, feeling a touch of nervousness in his heart. However, just a few breaths into watching, Xiaxia's expression changed. This? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 935 Martial Tao Rankings. Subscribe please. The speed at which the thoughts of Xiaxia's Supreme Being ran was truly swift, as he immediately uncovered the crux of the Martial Tao First Tier chapter, Rule Models. Within the Martial Tao First Tier chapter, a vast number of rule models are contained, all of which are quite different from the many rule models compiled by human civilization. One must know, to establish and perfect a rule model requires the expenditure of an unknown number of evolution scholars' efforts. Moreover, some rule models are not something that can be established as soon as one wishes to do so. Which one of the rule models compiled by human civilization isn't the result of generation after generation of evolution scholars' relentless endeavors? But now, Xiaxia's Supreme Being has discovered a plethora of entirely new rule models within the Martial Tao First Tier chapter. Entirely new rule models? A multitude? Xiaxia's Supreme Being's heart was filled with doubt and amazement, and he immediately began to delve into every rule model included in the Martial Tao First Tier chapter. The other 8 human Supreme Beings did the same, focusing most of their minds on the rule models. Is this the rule model for the infinite space rule? Such pillar-level fusion rules are mastered by so few evolutionaries in our human civilization, yet a rule model has already been created? And look at this rule model, the Great Destruction Thunderbolt rule model? The fusion of the Great Destruction rule and the Thunderbolt rule? The Great Destruction rule itself is already a pillar-level fusion rule, and now fused with the Thunderbolt rule? A rule model for this too? The Rule of Time Shadow model? The model is no problem, but how did the Galaxy Master create these rule models? As their understanding deepened, a storm of shock and awe swiftly arose in the hearts of the 9 human Supreme Beings. For the establishment and perfection of a rule model, it primarily requires an ultimate understanding of the corresponding rule. Otherwise, not to mention establishing a rule model, one cannot even fully comprehend that kind of rule. Furthermore, the rule models that are established and perfected must possess dissemination standard. An evolutionary scholar who has just penetrated the rule of time, with some cost, indeed can establish a complete rule of time model. However, this kind of rule of time model is only applicable to this evolution scholar, and it won't be of any help to other evolutionaries' understanding of their own rule of time by contemplating this model. No matter which rule, they are all boundless. Even the most basic golden rules, when fully understood by different evolutionaries, what they grasp of the golden rules is in fact inconsistent. It's merely different aspects of the golden rules. Rule models stem from summarizing the corresponding rules. The more aspects they encompass, the broader their dissemination standard. But as easy as it is to say, it is incredibly difficult to achieve. However, as the 9 human Supreme Beings continually inspected rule models within the Martial Tao First Tier chapter, they astonishingly found that the dissemination standard of these rule models was unbelievably high, fully reaching the level that they could be completely spread amongst all evolutionary beings in human civilization. But how is this possible? Just the rule models seen by the 9 Supreme Beings correspond to thousands of rules. The Galaxy Master could only hope to establish the corresponding rule models after elevating these rules to the ultimate understanding. Just thousands of rules? And all at least pillar-level fusion rules? Understanding all elevated to the ultimate? The 9 Supreme Beings were somewhat dumbfounded for a moment. They hadn't reached such a level of rule comprehension. The rule model for the spatio-temporal fusion rule. Just then, Xiaxia's Supreme Being's mind was shaken because he saw the core section of the Martial Tao First Tier chapter. That was the rule model corresponding to the spatio-temporal fusion rule. The most important rule in the 11th layer of any evolutionary path, including the path of the Supreme Evolution, is the spatio-temporal fusion rule. Other pillar-level fusion rules, you may choose to comprehend or not to comprehend. Just like breaking through from the 10th layer to the 11th, one only needs to elevate a pillar-level fusion rule to the second realm. There's no specification as to which pillar-level fusion rule it must be. Sir, the novel, Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. But the spatio-temporal fusion rule? To progress in the 11th layer, one needs to understand the spatiotemporal fusion rule. Time and space are the two cornerstones of all rules, and the spatiotemporal fusion rule is even more so. Simply put, the spatiotemporal fusion rule is a mandatory option for every evolutionist who reaches the 11th layer. The spatiotemporal fusion rule models from the first realm to the fifth realm? 33,333 rule models? These rule models? It took the 9 supreme beings over an hour to finish reading the more than 30,000 rule models corresponding to the spatiotemporal fusion rule. It's not that the 9 supreme beings couldn't understand them. Anyone who steps into the 12th layer has already reached the 6th realm in terms of spatiotemporal comprehension. However, determining whether a rule model for a certain rule meets the dissemination standard requires not just an understanding of that part of the rule's essence that one comprehends, but also involves reviewing the other aspects. And since the rule model for the spatiotemporal fusion rule is of great importance, as the supreme beings of human civilization, they naturally felt more reassured after reviewing it several times. The rule model for the spatiotemporal fusion rule has a high dissemination standard, reaching the level required for widespread propagation. After a while, the ancient power supreme being spoke up, his tone unconsciously revealing disbelief. Before seeing the spatiotemporal fusion rule model, they were both expectant and apprehensive in their hearts. But after confirmation they were somewhat in disbelief. If it were said that the spatiotemporal fusion rule model originated from the hands of Xianxia Supreme, the other 8 human supreme beings could reluctantly accept it. After all, the stature of Xianxia Supreme is evident. He is the strongest of the human civilization's supreme beings, with power close to the peak of the path-splitting realm. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 936 Martial Tao Rankings. Subscribe please. _2 But Lin Yuan? A little fellow who has just stepped into the 11th rank not long ago? The rule comprehension of the Galaxy Master should have surpassed us. The Void God Ultimate being silently mused for a moment before slowly continuing. At least the 9 of them, as ultimate beings, were unable to create so many perfect rule models. Regarding the spatiotemporal fusion rule model, the 9 ultimate beings had always been trying to establish it, but it was still far from perfection. Yet now, in the Martial Tao First Tier chapter, they saw an incredibly perfect model of the spatiotemporal fusion rule, which directly spanned from the first realm to the 5th realm. Surpassed us. Xianxia, the ultimate being, and the other ultimate beings exchanged glances, somewhat disoriented. Although they had long recognized the potential of the Galaxy Master, believing Lin Yuan to be the strongest evolutionary genius in the history of human civilization, far surpassing them before they had stepped into the 12th layer. If Lin Yuan could successfully break through to the 12th layer, he might soon become the second 12-star human civilization has ever seen, just below the Xianxia Supreme. And to go even further, he could directly surpass the Xianxia Supreme, becoming the most formidable ultimate being in human civilization. But all this is predicated on Lin Yuan entering the 12th layer. Now that Lin Yuan is merely at the 11th rank, his comprehension of the rules already surpasses that of these ultimate beings. This was something none of the ultimate beings had anticipated. The previous mental and spiritual will of Lin Yuan, when reaching the 12th layer's level in the eyes of the 9 ultimate beings, could still possibly be a trick, perhaps due to some special events that led to a sudden increase in mental and spiritual will. Even so, as ultimate beings, they still felt that Lin Yuan's mental and spiritual will was only on par with them, not surpassing or dominating. But now, establishing so many perfect rule models, especially the spatiotemporal fusion rule model, indisputably showcases the terrifying extent of Lin Yuan's rule comprehension. Unlike mental and spiritual will, there is no shortcut to rule comprehension. One can only comprehend by oneself. 9 ultimate beings, please make the final judgment on the Martial Tao 11th tier chapter. As the thoughts of the 9 ultimate beings drifted, the voice of the Goddess of Wisdom rang out. The final judgment for the Martial Tao 11th tier chapter? Xianxia, the ultimate being, and the other ultimate beings steadied their spirits, contemplating seriously. Without a doubt, the value of the Martial Tao 11th tier chapter was revolutionary, simply immeasurable. Not to mention the crucial spatiotemporal fusion rule model, just the other thousands of pillar-level fusion rules alone would have an unprecedented impact on human civilization. It should be noted that these rule models' influence is not limited to martial arts evolutionaries. Evolutionaries of other paths can also comprehend them, although the effect may not be as pronounced as it is for martial arts evolutionaries. It can be foreseen that for countless millennia to come, the evolutionaries of human civilization will be influenced by the martial Tao 11th tier chapter. Even those who haven't taken the path of martial arts evolutionary will be able to purchase and observe it. The influence of the martial arts evolutionary path will surpass that of the 9 major ultimate evolutionary paths in one fell swoop. After all, evolutionaries of the 9 major ultimate evolutionary paths only make up 1/10 of the total evolving population of human civilization. There are still a large number of evolutionaries who do not follow the supreme evolutionary paths. Of course, this ratio increases with higher-tier evolutionaries. Among 8th, 9th, and 10th rank evolvers, 4 or 5 out of every 10 are from the supreme evolutionary paths. But even so, they are no match for the influence of the martial arts evolutionary path. The multitude of rule models in the 11th tier chapter can be utilized by any evolver. Xianyuan, what is your judgment? After repeated consideration, Xiaqin, the ultimate being, turned to look at the Xianyuan Supreme. The other 7 human ultimate beings did the same. The value of the martial Tao 11th tier chapter was too great, so vast that these ultimate beings dared not to make conclusions lightly. My judgment is, Xianyuan Supreme's expression was solemn as he slowly declared, 100 trillion merit points. As these words were said, the expressions of the 8 ultimate beings varied. The judgment of most ultimate beings was about 50 to 60 trillion merit points. How could Xianyuan Supreme directly give a judgment of 100 trillion merit points? 100 trillion merit points? Xianyuan, you rate the martial Tao 11th tier chapter so highly? Xiaqin's face showed surprise. His own judgment of the martial Tao 11th tier chapter hadn't reached the terrifying figure of 100 trillion merit points. What is the concept of 100 trillion merit points? Since the beginning of the Starry Sea era, human civilization hadn't seen such a vast amount of merit points being spent. Rating the martial Tao 11th tier chapter so highly is also a high rating of the Galaxy Master. The Xianyuan Supreme opened his mouth and then looked towards the other Supremes. If none of you have any objections, well, proceed with this verdict. No problem. The value of martial arts tier 11 is worth this price. Indeed. Xiaqin and the other 7 Supremes nodded, having no objections. 9 Supremes, the final verdict for martial arts tier 11 is 10 trillion contribution points. Should this be converted into a corresponding ranking value for an increase? The voice of the goddess of wisdom continued to convey. Ranking value is a judgment made by the 3 goddesses according to the potential and popularity of each evolutionary path, among other factors, and is specifically used to rank within the evolutionary leaderboard. The higher the ranking value, the higher the evolutionary path is ranked. Of course, the ranking value is just internal data for the 3 goddesses. Only the 9 Supremes are aware of it, and other evolutionaries do not know of this standard. Ranking value. The Xianyuan Supreme paused for a moment and said, we shall just follow the rules. The Xianyuan Supreme was very clear on why the Goddess of Wisdom specifically raised this issue. Because if the value of martial arts tier 11 truly reached 10 trillion contribution points, then the ultimate ranking value it received would surpass some of the supreme evolutionary paths. Among the 9 grand supreme evolutionary paths, there is also a ranking value, ranging between 8 trillion to 12 trillion. Milky Way main star. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged. After uploading martial arts tier 11, Lin Yuan's waiting time was much longer than the previous 10 uploads. But Lin Yuan was not surprised, as the contents contained within martial arts tier 11 were too vast. Especially those rule models, which even the Supremes would need to spend time to verify and determine. Respected 10th level citizen scholar Yuan, the martial arts tier 11 you uploaded has passed the final verdict. Suddenly the solemn and serene voice of the goddess of wisdom rang out. It passed the verdict? Lin Yuan's face showed interest. Even Lin Yuan guessed that the verdict of martial arts tier 11 was not led by the 3 goddesses. It must have the involvement of human civilization's Supremes. Lin Yuan was also quite curious about the Supremes' reliance on martial arts tier 11. The final determined value of martial arts tier 11 is 10 trillion contribution points. The goddess of wisdom swiftly stated. 10 trillion contribution points. Lin Yuan let out a light sigh of relief. Even though not long ago Lin Yuan on his own had broken through an immensely large battlefield, securing a vast territory for human civilization, and had well intimidated the myriad tribes' powerhouses, the contribution points he ultimately obtained were just over 200 billion. But now the value of martial arts tier 11 actually reached 10 trillion? Is it because of those rule models? Lin Yuan had a notion in his mind. If the martial Tao evolutionary path is only applicable to martial arts evolutionaries, but those rule models. could be used by any evolver with an inconceivably high popularity. This led to the explosive increase in the verdict of martial arts tier 11. Breaking through an immensely large battlefield, securing a massive territory for human civilization. While it might somewhat enhance the civilization's foundation, compared to the overall size of the territories, the foundation's increase is ultimately limited. But martial arts tier 11 is different. It's not as simple as enhancing the foundation. It's about instantaneously elevating human civilization's foundation by several levels. So many contribution points. Based on the human civilization's exchange rate of 1 12-star rarity equivalent to 100 million contribution points, 10 trillion contribution points, would that be exchanged for 100,000 12-star rarities? Lin Yuan pondered silently. 100,000 12-star rarities? Perhaps all of the 12-star rarities of human civilization combined wouldn't amount to that much. Right, the ranking of the martial Tao evolutionary path. Lin Yuan's mind subtly moved as he remembered this matter. Chapter 937 Unprecedented, Subscribe Request. After uploading the 11th level, martial Tao is the level 11 evolutionary pathway. It is also the highest level in the ultimate evolutionary pathways. The latest ranking of the martial Tao evolutionary pathway. Lin Yuan immediately looked at the martial Tao section in his personal information. As the founder of martial Tao, Lin Yuan has the authority to see the latest rankings of martial Tao. As for others, they must wait until the evolution rankings update at midnight to see them. Lin Yuan's expression changed slightly. Even after uploading the 11th level, Lin Yuan had anticipated the rankings of the martial Tao evolutionary pathway. That was still 10th. After all, the 9 evolutionary pathways ahead are all ultimate evolutionary pathways. The potential of the martial Tao 11th level, no matter how great, is ultimately not an ultimate evolutionary pathway, and cannot be compared with the ultimate evolutionary pathways. However, search * the Novelier. N.T. website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. When Lin Yuan saw the latest ranking of the martial Tao evolutionary pathway, he couldn't help but feel surprised. Martial Tao evolutionary pathway, 5th in the human civilization evolution rankings. 5th. Lin Yuan was inevitably surprised. Although it only rose 4 ranks from 10th to 5th. But it's important to realize, the pathways martial Tao surpassed are all ultimate evolutionary pathways. It seems the 3 goddesses ranking algorithm for evolutionary pathways does not weigh ultimate evolutionary pathways very heavily, Lin Yuan concluded. If considering potential alone, the martial Tao evolutionary pathway is definitely not an ultimate evolutionary pathway. After all, despite the high potential of the martial Tao evolutionary pathway, it only has the potential to ascend to an ultimate evolutionary pathway, but ultimate evolutionary pathways are already ultimate by nature. Therefore, the fact that the martial Tao evolutionary pathway reached 5th in human civilization must be influenced by other factors. It must be the spatio-temporal fusion rule model. Lin Yuan thought to himself, the spatio-temporal fusion rule model from the 1st to 5th realm directly reduced the training difficulty for 11th level human civilization evolvers by several tiers. This influence is probably even greater than that of ultimate evolutionary pathways. And that's a good thing. Lin Yuan determined in his heart. Since the martial Tao evolutionary pathway has become the 5th evolutionary pathway in human civilization, it will definitely cause a significant surge in the number of martial arts evolutionaries. This is also helpful for Lin Yuan's future pursuit of the ultimate path. Although after his journey to the immortal realm, the number of martial Tao practitioners has already surpassed the combined number of practitioners from the 9 great ultimate evolutionary pathways. But Lin Yuan certainly wouldn't mind having more martial Tao practitioners. Continue cultivating. After pondering for a while, Lin Yuan continued to delve into comprehension. Upon returning to the main universe, Lin Yuan faintly perceived the possibility of advancing again within the 7th realm of spacetime. Of course, not from the 7th to the 8th realm, as with Lin Yuan's level of life, reaching the 7th realm of spacetime is already the limit. What about the 8-fold realm of spacetime? Even if it could be comprehended, it would be blown apart in an instant by the vast information of spatio-temporal fusion rules. But at least it could take another step within the 7th realm, like reaching the mid-stage of the 7th realm? The next day at dawn, several evolutionary pathway rankings in the virtual world began to update sequentially. Martial Tao evolutionary pathway? What's up with the martial Tao evolutionary pathway? Did they update the 11th tier? Actually, whether Martial Tao updates the 11th rank doesn't really affect us, as the rankings won't change and we don't know the specific potential of the 11th rank. In the virtual world, many evolvers and high-level citizens initially didn't take it seriously. When the Martial Tao evolutionary pathway updated the 9th rank and 10th rank, the rankings rose significantly, sparking their curiosity, prompting them to purchase the latest chapters of Martial Tao to explore. But now, the Martial Tao evolutionary pathway is already the 10th pathway in human civilization, with only the ultimate evolutionary pathways above it. The gap is too big. Even if the 11th rank of Martial Tao is exceptionally outstanding, could it really surpass the ultimate evolutionary pathways? 5th, the Martial Tao evolutionary pathway has become the 5th evolutionary pathway in human civilization. What? Could it be that the Martial Tao evolutionary pathway continuously updated the 11th rank, 12th rank? Wrong, the Martial Tao evolutionary pathway only updated the 11th rank. Just updating the 11th rank and it's ranked 5th in human civilization's evolutionary pathways? Surpassing 4 major ultimate evolutionary pathways? Countless high-ranking citizens of human civilization were dumbstruck. In their understanding, the 9 ultimate beings reigned supreme above all, and the corresponding 9 ultimate evolutionary paths were the same. Even the most brilliant genius and the most astonishing evolutionary path cannot compare to these 9 ultimate evolutionary paths, unless they too could join the ranks of the ultimate evolutionary paths. Impossible, the martial arts evolutionary path indeed has great potential and may become an ultimate evolutionary path, but how could it surpass the ultimate evolutionary paths? Right, aspiring to become an ultimate evolutionary path is ultimately not the same as being an ultimate evolutionary path. The 11th level evolvers of human civilization were also shaken, even those hidden 11th level evolvers from before the Starry Sea era, who had never revealed themselves to alien races, found it unbelievable. The 11th level evolutionary path surpasses the 4 great ultimate evolutionary paths to become the 5th evolutionary path of human civilization? Could the 3 goddesses have made a mistake? The 3 goddesses making a mistake? The changes in the ranking of ultimate evolutionary paths cannot be decided by the 3 goddesses alone. The 9 ultimate beings must have already been aware. Martial arts evolutionary path being ranked 5th must be recognized by the 9 ultimate beings. After a brief moment of incredulity, those ancient 11th level evolvers of human civilization instantly calmed down. Doubting that the 3 goddesses made a mistake is unrealistic. Even if the 3 goddesses were wrong, could it be that the 9 ultimate beings of human civilization were also mistaken? Since so much time has passed and the ranking of the martial arts evolutionary path remains unchanged, it means there are no mistakes or errors in this matter. Since the ultimate beings all know and still keep the martial arts evolutionary path at 5th, there must be some highly impactful information contained in the 11th rank chapter? I'm going to buy the 11th rank chapter now to see. Me too. The 11th level evolvers of human civilization immediately started purchasing, too curious about the mysterious profoundness contained within the martial arts evolutionary path, which has made it the 5th evolutionary path of human civilization. Is this a rule model? So many pillar-level fusion rules models? And the rule model of spatiotemporal fusion rule? No wonder, no wonder. The many 11th level evolvers who initially bought the Martial Tao 11th rank chapter with many emotions, immediately went silent and began to fervently comprehend it. Many pillar-level fusion rule models and the rule model of spatiotemporal fusion rule, akin to a path to the heavens, even those 11th level perfected evolvers who have reached the 5th realm in spatiotemporal comprehension, were greatly moved and immediately began their closed-door training. Virtual world, a certain mysterious space. 9 ultimate beings of human civilization sat on their thrones. Allowing the martial arts evolutionary path to join the 5th rank, none of you 4 have objections, right? Xianxia Supreme looked at 4 of the ultimate beings and calmly said. The goddess of wisdom specifically asked him whether to determine the corresponding ranking based on the final merit points, considering the dignity of the ultimate beings. Allowing the 11th level martial arts evolutionary path to surpass the 4 great ultimate evolutionary paths might cause emotional responses in the corresponding 4 ultimate beings. Any objections? The 4 ultimate beings shook their heads. The contribution and impact of the martial arts 11th rank chapter on human civilization are indeed greater than that of a single ultimate evolutionary path. Being able to step into the 12th level, they naturally have precise judgments about the martial arts evolutionary path. The ranking of human civilization evolution only considers the impact of the evolutionary path itself, and the Martial Arts Evolutionary Path 11th rank chapter will have a profound impact on all the evolvers of human civilization. This aspect is something that some ultimate evolutionary paths cannot compare to. But be careful of other alien races. The Void God Ultimate Being suddenly said, the many rule models contained in the Martial Arts 11th rank chapter are of great help to any evolving being, just as much for human civilization evolvers as for those alien strong ones. Don't worry, I've already reinforced the distribution channels through the clan suppression weapon several times. Xianyuan Supreme nodded and said, to purchase the Martial Arts 11th rank chapter, to obtain the many rule models inside, one can only do so through the official virtual world of human civilization. Xianyuan Supreme has already reinforced this purchasing channel several times and it will not leak. As for after the purchase, whether it can be spread by oneself. Even after thoroughly understanding all the rule models in the Martial Arts 11th rank chapter, it's not possible to spread it out. Understanding is one thing, communicating and spreading it is another. Just like the 9 ultimate beings of human civilization, all have the comprehension of the 6th realm in spacetime, but they cannot perfectly complete the rule models from the 1st to the 9th realm of spacetime. Unless one can reach the level of Lin Yuan in rule comprehension, even if one watches all the rule models they cannot talk about it, at most they can only know it themselves. Therefore, the only way for other alien races to obtain the Martial Arts 11th rank chapter is to blend into human civilization, disguised as human evolutioners, and buy it in the official virtual world. But the risk is too high. The virtual world of human civilization is extremely strict in screening alien identities. Out of 100 alien spies infiltrating, probably not even one can survive the initial screening. Those infiltrated alien spy assassins are essentially dead men, already prepared to be discovered by human civilization at any moment, resulting in their cloned originals all dying and falling. The Martial Arts 11th rank chapter is most useful to 11th level beings, but an 11th level alien infiltrating human civilization? Each 11th level in human civilization is numbered and watched by the ultimate beings, and it's impossible for a new 11th level to sneak in unnoticed. As for those exceptional geniuses from other races? Alien races would not allow their geniuses to risk their cloned originals dying to infiltrate human civilization to obtain the Martial Arts 11th rank chapter. The opening and completion of the Martial Arts 11th rank chapter indicates that the Galaxy Master is not far from reaching the 12th level, Xianyuan Supreme said with expectation and a smile. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible.